Be civilized.
Hi, Auntie Kenny.
Don't let him baby you too much now, cause you look too comfortable there. See, I don't like
Auntie
that.
Kenny, why are you stressing out my daddy all the time?
You should
my
get him
daddy
the
is
buttons.
on vacation, and you're stressing him out.
Get him the button so we can know where Cleon lives. Just
trust me. If I get Guinness buttons, it's not gonna be programmed with my address. It's gonna be programmed with way more obscene things. Okay, he wants to go ahead. Say goodbye to Auntie Kenny. Goodbye. Bye, Auntie. You see that? He's looking at the tongue. That's his way of saying goodbye. And also put me down.
You baby him too much.
I can't help but baby him. He's a baby.
No, he's not. He's grown.
No, he's not grown until I say he's grown, which will be never, ever, ever in the history of anything ever. He will always be a little baby.
No.
He's always going to be my little guinea boy.
I can't. That's why I stay in anti-zone, because the minute I see when Groucho comes back to the office, he gonna be big. I don't need nobody babying him up saying, I like, no, people. He's like teenager now. We gotta stop this nonsense.
Did you see the pictures I posted? Well, actually, I literally just posted them. Because we went to the beach with this. So I love that Guinness has more friends on this island than I do, and I mean like genuine friends. Like Guinness has his doggy buddies, his doggy friends.
I see you putting all kind of so that's a nice picture.
Those are his German friends, Finley and Bonnie. Finley is
Bonnie's the black one?
Bonnie's the black lab, and Finley is the golden retriever, who is a big baby, and he's just he's like a little baby. He's so big, but like he will just like flop down and just like, yeah.
Why he shaved? They recently shaved him?
Yeah, because he's on a hot island, so he's coming from Germany.
Okay.
So he needs to be, shaved, which is a responsible thing to do, by the way, for anybody listening who is a dog owner in the Caribbean, and y'all who like huskies and Akitas and big hairy fluffy dogs, even the tiny chihuahuas and stuff. Did you ever used to get? No. Let me ask you this now. I'm putting you on the spot. You had Chiquita Bonita, and was she a fluffy dog?
Yes, she was.
Did you get her shaved regularly, Kenny?
No, I did not.
Okay, so I need to get the number for whoever is for the animal rights welfare place.
She's already passed away, so you can't. There's nothing you can do about it.
Doesn't matter. We'll charge you posthumously.
She was trimmed, but she wasn't trimmed like periodically, like the textbook tells you to do it every whatever month of weeks or every month of months. She wasn't. No, when her hair got too long, then that's when we do it, but we didn't do it by the book.
These unruly dog owners.
And before you're going to hold Chiquita, because I was going to ask a question before I think into that, because you were talking about huskies living in St. Kitts, and those need to trim all that stuff. But do you think that it's right for those kind of dogs to be living in those kind of climate?
I think it's only right if you're going to keep the dog in a cool and moderate temperature. So like if it's a dog that's going to live inside all the time, and you have like it's well ventilated, or you have AC, or it's going to be in shade, and it's going to be in like a cool area. Like for instance, if I lived up in like the hills, maybe, because there are some parts. Okay, so like for instance, if I live like in Jamaica, and I lived like in Mandeville, which is high up and it's very cold, then I would be like, okay, I can get a husky, because it's generally pretty cold up there, And if I were gonna keep the dog in like keep him inside and keep him cool all the time, then fine. But if you're gonna like have a dog tied up in the backyard, it's just I listen. I see some people do some like I sometimes drive past some places and it's like I drove past this place the other day and the dog house was literally a barrel, like you know those plastic barrels, those blue plastic barrels that it just like overturned. So the barrel is just on its side, and it has like a piece of board over it, which is supposed to be the roof, I guess, and that's the barrel. That's the dog house, and I'm like, okay, so that's a cute idea and everything, but in the heat of the sun, that plastic is gonna get very hot. So even if the dog is inside, it's gonna be hot. And then like you look at a lot of people with these dogs having like listen, I don't even get me started because I see a lot of these guys, the way they keep their dogs, it's like clearly the dog is unwell. The dog is walking and panting and choking and wheezing, and it's like doesn't have enough water. He doesn't have enough. He's not well exercised. He's not. I don't want to get into it.
It's like parents and children. Do you have any right to talk about how that person raised their child?
Yes, because children are members of society, and if your child is going to be so badly behaved that it's going to affect my way of life, then yes, I have a right to tell you how to raise your children, because society does tell us how to raise our children. Society tells us that we're supposed to raise children to have manners and to speak when they're spoken to, and to this and to that and whatever. So it's like, if you don't want to raise a monster, you know, I should be able to tell you like, hey, like certain things, you know, like if your child doesn't have any manners, I should be able to say, your child don't have manners and you need to teach them manners. Am I wrong?
I mean, I did. It's a ooh. Okay, so then I guess the question is, if you were somewhere in the public and you saw somebody's child acting a fool, would you correct that person's child?
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Like what I would probably do is I would call the parent and be like, "Oh, you need to come deal with this thing here. This your child is doing some stupidness and you need to sort it out." So like I would talk to the parents, and if it's like a child that is unaccompanied, I guess only if like that child interacts with me and like comes up to me and tries to do something misbehavingly, I would probably like stop it or don't do that or something like that. Or like if it's a child that I see going into danger, like for instance, I was on the beach the other day and this little baby was running towards the water, and the mom was kind of like just kind of sort of like not far away but not close enough to, like, I was closer to the child than the mom was, and the child was clearly about to get hit by clearly about to run into the sea. And I was walking along and the mother was like far back and I was very close to the baby, and I kind of just gently put my hand out and kind of stopped him from going into the sea, you know, and kind of sort of turned him around a little bit, because I'm like, girl, you gonna let your little baby just run into the ocean quickly like that? I mean, I don't know. So like little things like that, like if a child is running and like the parent is running after the child and I'm like in the way, I'll probably stop them. Because that kid could, you know what I mean? Like I'll probably put my hand out and just stop, because that kid could run into like the street. And it's really because like I just don't want to be a witness to anything that is gonna obstruct my day. You know?
Oh, so it's about you. Okay,
it's about me. That's what it is. I don't want you to inconvenience me.
You don't want to be traumatized.
Precisely, you know. So let me just listen. when it comes to other people's children and children in general, I have a very kind of like hands-off approach generally. Um, but I do like I only like intelligent children. And I know that sounds kind of like British nanny-ish, but like I will interact with your child if your child is intelligent. There are intelligent children and there are like children whose intelligence. Actually, it's funny that you got me started on this now because I have to actively restrain from comparing children to dogs because I see so many similarities. There's a lot of similarities. Look, all dogs are naturally intelligent, but some people have dumb dogs. Why? Because the owners kind of raise them dumb. Like you don't talk to the dog, you don't train the dog, you don't stimulate the dog. The dog has no obedience, it has no kind of training. So the dog is just dumb in a way. It behaves dumb because it's not naturally dumb, but because the environment in which it grows up is kind of dumb, the dog dumb. The same thing with children. There are some children who are kind of dumb, and it's because their parents kind of raise them dumb. They don't speak to the child. They don't encourage the child to have an opinion. They don't encourage the child to speak in clear sentences. They don't encourage the child to find out information. They like a lot of parents, like in the Caribbean, we tend to kind of like stifle children's curiosity. So when a child is asking questions, we tell them to shut up or little things like that. You know, it's like you're making the child stupid. You know.
And then you get a whole bunch of Kelly Pennies who try to figure them out themselves. But oh well.
But what about you?
The worst thing you could tell me growing up was when I asked why, do not say because I said so. That does not answer my question. I mean, I just want an explanation. Why can't I stick this pen into this socket? Because you said so? That doesn't help me. I need to know why. Oh, I get shocked. Thank you. Well, let me just try and see if I will get shocked. Oh, yeah, you're right. I get shocked. You're right.
You see, if this was my upbringing, my mother would have handed me an encyclopedia and told me to turn to the page on electrical circuits, and you learn why. That was kind of how I grew up. You know, like that's why I did it on my own.
I looked it up. Because my mother didn't tell me why. So I looked up electrical sockets and I started reading.
Oh, that is fantastic. That's why. So wait, your parents didn't encourage you to read?
They did, because they were encyclopedias and their books, but they couldn't answer a lot of my why questions. Because the why questions tend, you know how it is in Caribbean, it tend to be like rudeness. Why are you asking so much questions? Don't ask so much questions. And I'll tell you the answer. The answer is such and such. Why you keep asking questions? So I just basically have to be like, okay, I need a fuller answer, so I go and investigate my. This was before internet was really a thing. Internet was there, but not really yet. So books were what encyclopedias what I went to a lot.
Yeah, I used to love those encyclopedias. I used to love the like I used to have astronomy ones. Like I had different ones, like astronomy ones, history ones, geography ones.
Ooh.
I used to have this. There was this really cool book series called Questions Kids Ask, and it was literally just like a bunch of weird questions that a child would ask and the answers to those questions. So like one question I remember is, how much does the earth weigh?
Was it a white book?
I can't remember. I mean, it might have been written by white people, if that's what you mean. I don't.
No, I meant a white cover. Oh my word, man! A white hardcover book. Really?
Maybe. Kenny, we could easily Google this, right? Questions Kids Ask, and they used to ask, another question. Questions Kids Ask. Another question. What I'm probably gonna do is in the edit, I'll put the image up on the screen. Actually, maybe I won't, because it's giving me work to do.
We all know you're not gonna do that. I was like, no, you won't. Really?
Actually, you are weirdly correct. It was a white book. It is
I had the same book. That's what I'm wondering. I think it had like those little questions, and I just look. It was a white book. Of course, it was colorful because it's for kids. I'm trying to remember the cover, because each one had different covers.
they had different ones. So they
Yeah.
had questions kids ask about God, questions kids ask about themselves, questions kids ask about entertainment. So they just had different ones, and it was just chock full of like weird questions. You know, like what makes you itch, or what
Yeah,
are
I think,
eyelashes
yeah, we got the
for?
same book. Mine was about like the human body or something. I think
Yeah,
so.
yeah.
It,
Those were I
it came
used
from
to
the
read those
Logos
books, man.
book. I think they came from the Logos
Maybe.
book.
True. Could have been a logos
I
thing.
got a lot of
It's funny
stuff, a lot of
like
books. Yeah.
one boat. It's funny how like one boat making a an annual, or was it annual, like a regular trip to the island.
Yeah, once a year it came to the islands.
But
It came that
but
way.
it's
Yeah.
it's funny how, because you're talking about before the days of the internet, and it's true. I remember I was a little bit older, probably like maybe in my mid to late teens, when I realized that the Logos was a Christian boat, and it just killed the whole vibe for me, because I realized, because even back then I was like I was like, wait, so it's only Christian books that they, or like only like sanctioned. You know why I remember? You know how I learned that the Logos was a Christian book? Because I remember going looking for Harry Potter, and
Oh,
they were like, "Oh no,
I
we
never thought
wouldn't
to look
have
for Harry
Harry
Potter in the
Potter."
book. Ah.
Yeah, I wanted to get Harry Potter because so this whole book thing is so fascinating, Kenny, because we grew up in an island that didn't really have bookstores. I mean, we had like bookstores that sold textbooks, and some of those textbooks, some of those
Lars
stores,
used to be Larsing before Lars wasn't Larsing. And it was Lars. No, Lars was a textbook. Walls used to
and
have good
walls.
textbooks before it
Yes,
started to become a textbook. A good, sorry,
yes.
bookstore before it became a textbook store. They
But
had
even
good
so,
stuff
it was
inside. I remember I used to
limited.
get them. Yeah,
But
it was
even so, it
still.
was limited, you know, and
You had to
they didn't
order
carry.
them.
Yeah, there was no Kenny.
I think so.
There was no store on the island that sold Harry Potter books. None.
No, yeah, I got you had to get them from what's the name? The toy store place by Independence Square Street. That
Oh,
an
they sold
Indian
them.
dude.
Okay, interesting.
That's where I get my
Okay.
supply. So he would order them.
Of Harry Potter.
All of them. I got all the books from there.
Oh,
So he
okay.
ordered
So like,
them and he'll let you know that okay, I have 2 copies and he sell them. That's how I got the Harry Potter stuff because nowhere on the island had them.
but you see, no, you see this, and actually, I found out a little bit later, and actually, we didn't have Harry Potter in any of the cinemas. I don't think Harry Potter is ever shown here in any of the movies, because the Christian Council refused to allow it, and I found out later. I remember asking, I don't remember who I asked, somebody in the know. I was like, why don't we have, like, I go to the bookstore, they say, oh, we don't have Harry Potter, and the cinemas don't show Harry Potter. It was because the Christian Council stopped it from being shown. And I remember finding this out probably when I was in high school, you know, like late high school, and that it killed it for me because like with the whole Logos thing, and then the Christian Council blocking Harry Potter, I put it together. I was like, wait, am I being brainwashed? Like are these people like deciding, like, so these are people who are deciding on a set of like predetermined information, and that I live in a place that only has that is only allowed to receive a certain spectrum of information. So the Logos would only bring books that were approved. So it's not that they only had Christian books, but they didn't have books that they considered to be anti-Christian agenda or whatever,
Right,
like
yeah,
Harry
Christian,
Potter.
like, yeah.
Precisely. So there were things that we were not being allowed to consume, and I remember feeling a great sense of like betrayal and annoyance and anger at that when I realized that.
Leon's passion. In true
I was like, what's going on here?
Wow.
I was like, I want to be able to. I remember this too. This was probably in my 20s, a friend of mine got called into customs, as in the customs office,
Okay.
because they ordered books, and like the books were of a questionable nature. So one was like a study in like Obeah and voodoo or magic or something like that. It said something like the history of magic or the history of witchcraft or the history of voodoo or something along those lines. And I think they also ordered crystals and a couple other things in the same order. And I remember her telling me, like, yeah, they called her into they called her and they said, hey, you know, we have some items here, could you please come in? And she didn't know what, and she was like, what? And they called her into a room, and it was like an interrogation. Like, there was a couple other officers in there, customs people and stuff, and they you know, opened up the records, and they said, okay, well, you know, so and so, we see that you've ordered a book that says something about voodoo and witchcraft. Did you order that? Is that okay? And I see you also have crystals and something. What do you use those for? What's the purpose of that? What's the and they said, do you know that witchcraft is against the law in St. Kitts? This was less than 10 years ago. So because witchcraft and voodoo is against the law in this country, those items would have been flagged as like illegal things or whatever. And they let her go with them, you know, because I think she explained that it was for research or something like that. But this is like grown adult people, you know.
But I'm not too surprised. I mean, didn't they try to find DMX for swearing? So I'm pretty sure, like, there's standards that the country, and maybe it's not just only, you know, St. Kitts, it probably is like part of Caribbean law in some other islands as well, that they try to uphold some sort of Christian standing in these territories. There's a whole bunch of contradictory to that, but we're not getting into that in this podcast. But still, it's not too shocking to hear that. Because that stuff too it's always iffy. That's stuff where people don't always feel comfortable going deep into, because you just don't know what goes on in that stuff. People are like, nah, don't bring that on there.
But you see, the funny thing is, well, I know where it comes from, because it's British colonial rule, right? The British, it goes back to, I mean, it goes back to a lot of things. Obviously, it goes back to, you know, well, it's pre-colonial because the Europeans believed very heavily in witchcraft. You know, I don't know if you know King James and his whole fiasco. He was like fascinated with witchcraft. The King James who not wrote, but the Bible was adapted after, from the King James Bible. He was obsessed, like obsessed with witchcraft. He was terrified of it. Like he published a book called I think either Demonology, or was he the one that did Malleus Maleficarum? He published, I think it's called Demonology.
I wouldn't know these things. I don't know.
James D-E.
That's not my area of territory, my dear.
So Demonology was the name of the book, right? That he created, that he made, and it was all about his study of witchcraft and witches and stuff. And when he was about to, I think, assume the throne or something like that, he was sailing from, I can't remember if it was like France to England or from somewhere to somewhere. And during the crossing, there was like a terrible storm. And they thought that, it was said that a witch had put a spell on him to stop him from assuming the throne. And remember, these guys were always paranoid. They were always paranoid about their security on the throne. It was constantly, you know, at any moment you could be killed, poisoned, assassinated, whatever, for the throne. So they were always paranoid. So they thought that also people would cast spells and witchcraft and stuff to get them. So they were really terrified. I mean, they thought, I mean, his I guess it would have been his great aunt, who would have been Queen Elizabeth I's mother, was one of the charges against her was that she was a witch, you know? So all these accusations and stuff, I'm saying all this to say that all of this stuff crept into the law, the British and European law, which got passed down to us as well during colonialization. And it was around that time in the late 1500s, early 1600s. And the plantation owners as well were terrified of witchcraft. They thought that the slaves would be working spells against them and all that kind of stuff. And indeed the slaves did. Well, the enslaved people did turn to voodoo and all sorts of spirituality and stuff to try and, you know, deal with an otherwise untenable situation, you know. So we kind of still have some leftover feelings about that, I guess.
I just think just like there are just some things in those eras where I feel like it's still too dangerous to dive into because it's still up in the air. So I just think for safety reasons we should leave it alone. So I think that's realistically why a law should be put there, because there are just some things you should not be digging into because it could go left or right. So I say leave it alone, people. Leave it alone. That's how I feel of it. Just leave it alone.
Yeah, it's very interesting. It is interesting. That's an interesting idea about it. That because I was gonna ask you if you think that a law should be in place to stop something like that. I mean, I personally think I think it's kind of like from a strict legal standpoint, it doesn't make sense because it says that the state believes in witchcraft. So to me, it's like the state, for the state to have like a law like that in place, it says something about, like, I would have to ask a judge, okay, then, so in order for you to enforce this law, you must believe in witchcraft. But then it says that the law is based on Christian principles and that you swear on the Bible and all that kind of stuff. So it's like, well, to me, it's kind of contrary. It's like, well, do you believe in the supreme power of God, or do you believe that it's possible for a human being to assume godly powers and actually do something? Like, which one do you believe? Because to me, it's like it can't, one should cancel out the other. But then hearing you say that, like, you think it's dangerous, I'm like, what would be dangerous about it? And
I'm not saying there's two spectrums to anything. Just like an item, a chair is innocent, but could be used as a deadly weapon. So there are some things that should be put in place for law to not be abusive to somebody in violence. Just like how there should be things to be put in place of law, where some things where you just don't know where direction it can go, just leave it there. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. That's
no.
The neutral way I'm keeping it.
It's an interesting. It's an interesting idea. I mean, you know, in my view, or in my untested view, is what I'm saying. So I have not thought about this like this before. What you said is giving me reason to think about it more than I have before. I previously just thought, oh, it's kind of silly for you to think that for the state to be involved in something like that. Like, why would the state prohibit a children's book like Harry Potter? It must be on some kind. It's like it's part of that same set of beliefs, right? That like clearly you like for you to prohibit a book like Harry Potter, it means that you believe in magic. So does the state believe in magic? It doesn't make sense. Like in my mind, government should believe in something like magic. Okay. You know, like it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. But so I'm testing your suggestion when you say you think it's too dangerous. I'm like, well, okay, what could be dangerous about it, right? Taking the spiritual aspect out of it, because again, it requires you to believe in the spiritual aspect of it, which to me, I think is kind of impossible.
It's not that. It's just the unknown, Cleon. That's it. There are some things, just like how people shouldn't dive into the deep depth of the ocean, because there's just some things you just don't know about down there. So no common man by law should legally go down there in the deep depths, because you don't know what's down there. There's just some things where you don't know 100% about. So maybe it's not the best thing to just dive into it. Because I don't think the government's thinking is because we're spiritual and that's not where my head's going. I think the government's treating like any other law. A chair could be used to sit in, but it could be used as a powerful weapon. Let's just put some limitations on some of these things. Everything's a caution. A knife could be used as a cutting item in cooking, but could also be used as a deadly weapon. So let's just put things into perspective here. I think it's just that simple.
Yeah, no, this is actually very fascinating to me. I see what you're saying, because I do agree that if the state should be any liberal versus conservative, I think the state should lean towards conservative, right? And I'm saying this as a liberally minded person. I think if you're government and your responsibility is law and order, because of the nature of what you're doing, you should tend towards more conservative things in general. I don't think you should be rigidly so, but I think conservative should be the tendency. So I agree with you in that sense. However, when you talk about the whole idea of the unknown, and we started this conversation talking about questions that children ask and things that curiosity, right? I think about, well, if we banish the unknown, generally speaking, that okay, just because something is unknown, we just leave it alone, then we would never advance in science. People wouldn't discover microorganisms and brain functionality. I mean, think about this. In order to study anatomy and like human brain function and that kind of thing, right? You have to cut open a dead person's body. And you have to, when the person is dead, instead of doing the conventional thing, which is burying them or cremating them, you have to let a set of, frankly, twisted-minded people called doctors and scientists. I think you kind of have to be a little bit twisted to be a doctor, right? Love them, but I think you have to be a little bit cracked. You can't be normal.
Disclaimer: these are Cleon's points of view.
Well, I have lots of friends who are doctors, and I don't know one of them who will tell you that they're normal. Okay, no, they were all like, okay. Listen.
What is normal in 2024?
That's true. Normal? But like, for you to manfully cut open a person's skull and go, oh, okay. So first there's one layer of skin, write down that. Then there's another layer under that layer, write that down.
Write that down.
And then under that there's blood vessels and veins. You have to cut, and if you cut that vein, it's gonna splash. So don't cut that one. Make sure you write that. And actually, you know something? Draw a diagram of this so that we know exactly where the thing is, and then get a saw, a power saw or whatever it is, and cut through the skull and then open it up and then take the brain out and study, and then take electrical things and shock it and see which part of it jump, and then inject chemicals in it and see all these kind of things and stuff like that. I mean, that is that, like, if I were to sit and watch somebody doing that without understanding what they're doing in like the 1600s, right? If
Yes,
I were
they did
just a
have that back
regular,
then. Like, they had open theater.
I wonder when that started. I wonder when they started to like when the field of anatomy actually began. I would like to see that.
You're not
When
getting
did
Google for that answer.
anatomy, the study of anatomy, because
I love it. These
when
conversations
when
are
the human beings
we went
become
from dog to witchcraft to doctors. We're only 36 minutes in. People, guess in the comment section, where is this conversation going to go to next? I think it's pasta. I think it's pasta.
pasta. Yeah, I mean, have you ever realized how pasta kind of looks like a human brain? Like when you see like a bowl of spaghetti, or like they got like it's squishy. No,
yeah.
it's no. I just find, okay, 3rd century BC, right? So, anatomy is the oldest scientific discipline of medicine. The first documented scientific dissections on the human body are carried out as early as the 3rd century BC in Alexandria. Of course, the Egyptians would be the ones busting down people and cutting down people.
Yeah, they were putting stuff into those are some times.
Yeah,
Drilling hole in and filling. Yeah.
But anyway, the point I was making is that the unknown, a proper study of the unknown rather than prohibition of the unknown could actually yield. I mean, okay, so the human body was once unknown, and anatomy and biology and chemistry and thing was totally unknown to us. And in order to do that, in order to make the unknown known, we had to go through some very gory, very disgusting, despicable types of things that had to be allowed by society in whatever way, right? We had to kind of say, all right, these set of people here, we can give them something called a license. And we're going to allow them to cut down people and pick people apart and do whatever and thing. And over time, that will give us all this knowledge and information that will make society much better. What if it's the same thing with magic?
I don't think that's what I don't think that's what originally happened with, because people were doing that kind of stuff without it having a license. And here's the thing, like it's because at one point, when does your curiosity stop? Because even if you go and investigate XYZ, you always, that's human nature. You'll always be curious to know what's in space, what's in the deepest ocean, what's going on, so there'll never be an ending. So it doesn't really matter at the end of the day what law is put in place. Some human being is still going to do XYZ. So, but laws are put in place, in my opinion, to kind of just bring order to things. That's debatable. I understand that. People will do what people do. People will people. But I just think sometimes as well, too, there's just some things maybe you just don't need to dive too much into. Like, is it really that necessary for you to know what's in the bottom of the ocean? Is your life going to be at a pause if you don't know there's some sort of 6-legged creature down there? Like, is that really it's gonna make the science books look good? It's gonna make whoever biologist's name in history, that would be great. But is it really necessary to know this added information?
This is an interesting question. And I've heard people say this before, and the reason people bring this up is because there are so you said dangers, and I was originally a little bit surprised. I was like, dangers? Are there really dangers there? But you're right, because in the field of anatomy, to satisfy this curiosity, doctors used to steal bodies, and they used to
it's illegal,
and they used to do dark things. And in the pursuit of space exploration and understanding the ocean and stuff. People have died. Look at last year. These guys, you know, a lot of people were making fun of these rich people that went down in the submarine,
Yeah.
and died and stuff, you know.
Mm.
And my thing is, yeah, but you know, I think it's kind of like, I think it's like the entire human race has a collective curiosity and satisfaction. Now, this is interesting because we're gonna get biblical here now, right?
We've got into church. Here you go.
No, but okay, so people who know me closely would know that I often quote Genesis, because Genesis is probably my favorite book of the Bible. And I actually think that the entire creative process is written in the book of Genesis. And I think pretty much the purpose of life and the meaning of it, it's all in the book of Genesis. And I think every single book of the Bible is a repeat of Genesis. I think they're all the exact same thing, just told in different form. That's a whole deep thing. But like, if you had to say, take one book of the Bible and forget all the rest, wipe your memory of the rest, I would say Genesis. And if you had to say, take one chapter of Genesis, I would say Genesis 1. Right? But
okay.
but anyway, because I think so much is summed up in there, right? Now we're talking about curiosity. Genesis itself has given to us by Moses's own conclusion, at the very origin of mankind has been so curious that we are willing to disobey God and suffer death in order to satisfy our curiosity. So and that it was a collective effort as well. So God said to mankind, have dominion, be fruitful, multiply, do all the wonderful things. Of every tree of the garden thou mayest freely eat. But of the tree in the midst of the garden, thou shalt not eat of it, for the day in which you eat of it, thou shalt surely die. So God was very clear what would happen. God said, if you, it's not curious, if you're gonna dead. That's what God said to man. But then the snake came and said, that's not true. You know, God does know that if you eat the fruit, you will become as gods, knowing good and evil. Knowing good and evil. The name of the fruit was the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. So Eve takes of the fruit. So this is a collective thing, because this is Eve and the snake having a discussion. And then she brings her husband into it, and he eats of the fruit as well. So it's this collective thing of, yo, suppose this unknown, dangerous, prohibited thing is something completely different than what we think of it. No, but God said we're gonna dead. I don't care. I want to know. I want to give me that fruit. I want to know. I want to eat it. I want to see how it tastes. I want to know. You know? So like from the very beginning, we are told that mankind is willing to die to satisfy our collective curiosity. Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild?
I don't know if it's wild, but it's just what would have happened if we were not curious. Ding.
Well,
that's really the question we should be asking.
So answer the question.
What
would have happened if we were not curious?
I don't know. I'm not Adam and Eve. We'll never know until.
What do you think would have happened? It's a thought experiment.
I have no idea what could, because the thing is that people, like the way how man is thinking now, that won't be happening right now, because man is always going to be curious. They're always going to be, and it's going to be led to their death. It's always going to be led to maybe not theirs directly, but someone's death. It's gonna lay to a negative effect. You may not be short term, because people think, oh no, doing this has done this, cure this, great. But people tend to forget long term a lot. And then they always think of short term, in the short run. It's going to do good, it's going to do great. But no one really sits down to think about long term. In the end, all of that digging to do this and to research this, it's affecting the climate, it's affecting this, it's long term. But people don't think about long term. People think about now. People think about results now, because the results now are more fruitful than the results in the future, because they don't care, they'll die. They're not going to live in the future. So whatever happens in the future happens to them, that generation. I'm living for now, so I get to reap my reward now.
Yeah, interesting. And as I listen to you, I'm
not a pessimist, people. I'm just a realist.
No. I don't see it as pessimistic. I reckon, because like I said, I asked myself the question as well, because here's again, going back to Genesis, everything that God created, well, most things, and this is, God created a lot of good things. Created the sky and the moon and the stars and and God said that it was good. Well, so this is going to be a lot. I don't know, because in order for me to express what I'm saying, I have to be, I guess, controversial, because also these are ideas I'm struggling with. These are just theories that I'm playing around with. But the idea that God is perfect is also disproven in the Bible, in Genesis, because everything that God created was good, right? Or people will say, yeah, everything was God. Actually, that's not true. In Genesis, it clearly says that after God created everything, he looked at man and he said, it is not good that man should be alone. So God created something that was not good, which was man's aloneness. So God made a mistake. God had to fix it. Or, well, I say mistake. People will argue and say, oh, that's not it. I'm just saying it's demonstrated that God is capable of all things, good and not good, which interestingly plays out, because the fruit that man was prohibited from eating is the knowledge of good and evil, which is also in the Bible that says that's like God's, because after they ate the fruit, God says, behold, man has taken of the tree of knowledge of good and evil and has become like us. That's what God says. So apparently the knowledge of good and evil is meant to be a divine thing, but man has stolen a little piece of it and has taken a little piece of the divine, So the question here then is, because I asked, what would have happened if man did not eat of the tree of good and evil, if man had not taken of the thing? But maybe man was always meant to do so, because man was created in the image of God. So if we're created in the image of God, then rightly we should also have the knowledge of good and evil like what God has, right? These are things I'm just playing around with, right? Because the whole notion of human curiosity, whether it ends in virtue or folly, I think is moot, because I think it seems like curiosity is an innate part of human beings. And when you say we think about the now and not about the future, I think you're right. I think you're right because, for a lot of reasons, I think you're right because sometimes we are careless and impulsive, and addicted to comfort, and we give in to the temptation of our curiosities and stuff. And I think also you're right because sometimes we cannot, even if we tried, like we cannot actually know what will happen in the future. We can hypothesize, but we can't actually know. So that's why I'm like, so then so what? Shouldn't we just live in it now and just be
That's
our
where that came from. That's the messaging. It's amazing when because I'm a really good listener. So I hear people say the exact same thing over and over. And it's just it's like because I another topic similar is like, why do you get a house? What's the point in getting your own house? I can't ask the people that question, and it's the exact. I actually am wording it with them when they're talking. I'm like with them because I know what they're like. Everybody is orchestrated to say the exact same thing. That's why I smile. I just sit back and I smile because like, yep.
So in this scenario, you're the one asking the question of why the house.
Yeah, because I know what they're gonna say. I've never.
And what is it that they say?
Huh?
And what is it that people say? What's the trope?
This is a source of security. They do it because they get it for their kids. They don't have to pay rent anymore. They do it as an investment. Those are usually the top four. That's the ones I always hear. Definitely security, and definitely because I don't want to pay rent anymore. Or what's the sense paying rent anymore? And then I'm like, all right, thank you. And I just drop it down as number 1,400 in my head because it's the same. So when you just spoke what you just said with the why live in the future and live now, I'm like number 964 in my head. But
I mean,
I can't blame them. That's the thing too. I can't be like because that's just what. Okay, a friend of mine, we were having this conversation months ago. Like, what does society orchestrate in your head to think? Is that you do need, and I can't blame them too, because that's how the economy is built on. You need security. You need to have some sort of composure. Like, or you'll be going crazy. Like, where would I live? How can I get money? I need to get a job. Like, you'll be insane. So you need some form of consistency. So it's like a home is a surety. Then I know I won't be on the streets. Yeah, but then do you need to buy a home? Is that what you need for a surety? And like, yeah, because then I don't need to get rent. I don't have to pay rent anymore. I think about my kids. I think about but I'm like, I mean, that's another topic to go into. That's just what I keep hearing over and over. That's just what society puts in their head to make them feel less anxious about things, which I understand perfectly. So I'm not saying it's a bad thing to get a home. It's just that I feel like that's what you're told to do, and that's how you think that way. But necessarily, security is not a home, because you could lose your home. There could be civil unrest. There could be problems. You could have issues paying your mortgage. And so it's not a form of a security. You can lose it. So there isn't really no form of security, but just to keep your sense of peace, that's what society's telling you, because then you don't have to be in a street sleeping. Great. You don't have to, you could have a place that you could call your space. And my other friend, we were talking about, this was a good conversation. He was talking about how can we stop poverty or something like that. And he's saying his answer was to give everybody money. And then, no, was that his one? I forgot what it was, but we were.
I was saying a stimulus package. That's the hot thing nowadays.
I think that was the argument he was saying, but then I just said, because I didn't want to go too much into the conversation, but I just said, if people start thinking about others, that can solve a lot of world's problems today. And he's like, that don't make any sense, because he gave the example of heating in his house. Why should I pay extra for heating? Because there's some war going on down the road, and I got to pay extra now for gas, or pay this. I don't want to be wearing a long sleeve in my place. I want to wear short sleeve. And I'm like, but you in that whole sentence, how many times have you said the word I? I don't want to wear a long sleeve. I want to have this luxury in my home. I don't want to do that. And I think you're just proving my point. If people thought about other people more, this probably would not be a problem. But man does not orchestrate that way.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because as I listen to you, I think about, because this is about tropes, right? Um, and it sort of goes back to like the opposite of any profound truth is also true, which is why I think there are common tropes that are present with mankind since the dawn of mankind, since mankind was a thinking collective, since the yeah, since and lately I find I've been talking a lot about Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Hey.
Are you familiar with that one? Right, the
Yes.
hierarchy. And as we move up the hierarchy, as we cover the basic needs like food and water and health and shelter and protection,
Yeah.
and then we start to become more collective in our desires. We need connection with others, family, thing, and then we have time for things like love and romance and entertainment and and then we get philosophy and all of these types of things because we have time. So when you look at like a society, what a society's preoccupation, I mean, how do people spend their day to day, right? What are the ideas and thoughts that they have, is a good indication of where they're at. You probably see this in your study of languages, I imagine, because I think that is reflected in like the words that we have for things as well. Like I think for instance, German, is a language that I think this might be a crude way of saying it, but I think it's a society that had a longer time to think in philosophical terms than say our society, than my society, because they have words for things that we would never think of having words for. Feelings of things, they have words for feelings, that like they will have a word that describes something like the awkward moment when you're walking by someone on the street and you almost bump into each other, but you can't decide where to. They might have a word for something like
yeah, that's
that type
true.
of language. Schadenfreude. Like they will have a word for the feeling that you have when you feel happy about somebody else's downfall, which is a kind of a baseline one. But the fact that there is a specific word that describes that says that, okay, this feeling must have been something that they have observed for a very long time with a sense of objectivity to say, oh, actually, everybody has this feeling, so we should have a word for it. It's something that everybody has, so let's give it a word so that we can all talk about it. Whereas maybe in our society, we are a little bit less feeling oriented. We're a bit more, we wouldn't, I mean, to have a word for something like that. Do we have many words for our feelings, like that, for our thought patterns, for the specific idiosyncrasies that go on in our minds and that kind of thing? So where was I going with this? Oh, the whole idea of tropes, right? That like I think when you identify what you're seeing, where you identify these sort of commonalities in people's thinking, right, on different subjects, and sometimes yes, there are commonalities, and in fact there are opposing commonalities. So there are people who say that we should think of others, and we should be, sort of incredibly generous in our and sort of communal in our sharing of resources and that kind of thing. Yet there are other people who vehemently say that actually we should be individualistic. Like Ayn Rand. Ayn Rand is like a big proponent of this whole, like we should be selfish and we should serve ourselves, because if each individual serves himself, then we don't need to hold up each other in the same way. These are people who identify things like, well, when we create a state where other people are expected to look out for you, then you sort of get lazier in your thinking in certain ways. You sort of get less independent. You don't make so many decisions for yourself. You're not as as independent and resourceful and stuff like that. And these are all, so like for instance, these are all we see these things in the animal kingdom, right? Where there are some groups of animals that are like elephants and stuff like that. They are very herd-like in their behavior and very collective-like. So they think of the other, like maybe female elephants will look after other females' children because the more elephants we have in the herd, the stronger we are and the better we are. So we kind of have a sense, some weird kind of instinct that says more elephants in the herd is better. So even if it's not my kid, I'm going to take care of it because raw or whatever. But there are other, there's a type of bird. I think it's called it's like a big ugly bird, and I think it's called the hornbill or the shoebill or something.
That sounds familiar.
It's a bird that has a big, the shoebill. It has a big old thing, and it's thing. That bird, I was watching a documentary. That bird, if the mother has two babies, and one of the children is a little bit weaker than the other one, the stronger one will peck at it and sort of bully it and stress it out and take its food and sort of, and the mother will watch it and allow it to happen and let it die, because the whole idea is, if you are weak, you are actually you are a liability to us, because we have to take care of you. We have to divert mental resources from surviving and running from predators and from, I can't focus all of my attention on listening for whatever, because I have to think about the weak little one that is behind, So it's a kind of the environment sort of dictates what the communal morality is in a way. So when I hear these common tropes that people talk about, I think, well, what is the condition, that allows for that form of thinking? You get what I mean? Like, that's what makes me very curious. Like, why would you have a word for that? What is it about your society that made you so, for instance, I imagine societies that were deeply more religious and superstitious probably have more words for things like magic and spirit and thing, whereas societies that are much more technical and advanced have more words for chemicals and processes of things, and that's kind of what I think it must, your environment will give rise to what the collective thought is, I think.
We just went way deep into, because I know the Japanese and Korean language, Japanese, they have words, or the Koreans too. They have words where I wouldn't know how to translate them into English, because when see, I wouldn't know how to say, like, there's something like the Japanese would say, like, so desu ne, and the easiest translation you would think is that's right, but it could also mean or it can also mean it can also mean you have a point. It's so many things it can mean, whereas in English is different ways how I just said it, but in Japanese it could just be so desu ne. And it's okay. So, but in for them, it's I don't think they're dissecting it. So it's like, for our culture, why do we have to dissect specific meanings for specific things, whereas in some other cultures, a simple sentence doesn't need that dissecting. Somebody just responds something as so this net. You don't need to wonder, okay, does that mean they agree with me? They don't agree with me? Are you like, what's your opinion? Like, you know, it's just simple. I don't know. I don't know.
It's interesting because we have things like that in English too, in cultures of English. Like a lot of people talk about some cultures have, I know the Aussies have it, the Jamaicans for sure have it. I think we have some of it too, where they don't use that. It's not a word, but it's more like like the Jamaicans will go
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna have an entire listen. I remember when I first moved to Jamaica. I used to make fun of this because I used to hear the Jamaicans always going
Until you start saying it, I'm sure.
You know. And no, but I used to make a joke and I used to say, oh, you could have an entire conversation with just this sound. Until one morning, I was in my dorm room and I was listening to, well, these two guys, I don't know, maybe one was sitting outside and the other one like came up onto the corridor or was walking up the stairs to his room or something, but they passed each other outside. And like the entire conversation was it was, one of them was like like, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, you guys literally just had an entire exchange just by tone, you know? So anyway, that is interesting. But yeah, the Japanese for sure is another culture that they do tend to have these kind of complex expressions, you know, and it's a culture that has historically I think parts of Japanese culture is mindfulness is a big part of their culture. It's very the Japanese are kind of expected to be mindful, aren't they? When I say mindful, I mean to think a lot about things. You know, they're great inventors, they're great philosophers, they were pioneers. They're people who sort of like there were people who kind of sort of pulled things from their environment to serve their specific needs a lot, you know. So they're like, what am I talking about? Things like I mean, they were like, the Japanese are known for being very inventive, right, and coming up with like designs.
Yeah.
Like that. And I can't think of anything specific, but they're known for that. And I think in order to be inventive, not just like in a material way, but also in like a non-material way, like inventing a process or inventing a way of doing something or whatever it is, I think you have to be very mindful. I think you have to sit down and think about things a lot. And you have to sit down and talk to each other a lot.
That's the thing, you wouldn't see them as talkative compared to the West. I think I would agree definitely that they I don't know if pensive is the word. They are like, they think a lot, because I remember reading like an older doctrine about a guy, like, this is like set like in samurai period, and he would just write about the seasons changing. So like poems about the seasons changing, poems about snow falling. But it's the way how he wrote about them. It's like, you must have sat there and looked at how the snow falls on the leaves or something. So, yes. but I wouldn't see them as talkative people. So it's interesting how they just, I mean, maybe because we always assume like they're quiet and they don't have anything to say. Maybe they do, but they're just not in that culture to just speak, like to really be that expressive. But yeah, they're probably very like heavy thinkers.
But it makes sense because I think the less talkative you are, the more mindful you would naturally be, because what else would you be doing? You would you know, you would be thinking. You like, yeah, you would, you would
that
sit and
makes
think
sense.
about things. You would observe. I think of the Egyptians that way as well. I think about they must have been incredibly observant, because
what they've done,
for a man to sit down and work out. I mean, actually, not just the Egyptians. I mean, a lot of the ancient civilizations were like that. So the Aztecs were, like any civilization that watched the sky and watched the stars, and gleaned things like time and mathematics and navigation and all sorts of things from it. I'm like, all this while you're trying to like survive your climate, all this while you're trying to weather the elements around you and stop yourself from dying at 30 years old from some unknown thing and whatever, and it's like the stories that they told as well. I mean, both their science and their mythology is a testament of their mindfulness, because the mindfulness of Egypt, this is a whole other thing. The mindfulness of Egypt as a society, pensiveness, I like that word too. That's a really good word, pensive. You think of the complexity of their origin myth, and their gods and the different pantheon of their gods and all that kind of stuff. And then also like the management of their resources, the way they had to learn how to manage water, and earth. They had to learn how to move the earth, pack it up into it, and make gigantic stones out of it and carve things into it that would last forever and position it to line up with the stars and to make an almost exact human likeness in something as the least human thing on earth is a rock, and you choose that to make her into a human likeness. You think of it's wild, and the complexity of the story. That's why I like the Bible. I mean, I don't,
why'd you go to Egypt? Is that your plans? Oh, you want
definitely to? It's always been a dream of mine. Always to stare at the pyramids and stare at the hieroglyphs and the monuments. I want to see actually how big those things really were. Like, I've seen people standing next to the at scale and all kind of thing, and I get it. Like, okay, the statue was so tall that like the person's toenail was by your eyelash. Okay, I get it. That's pretty big. but I've never stood next to something like that before. So I've never had that impression made upon me. Like, yo, think about this, Kenny. Think about this, right? In order for me, I'm gonna draw my own reference to this too. Okay, so so in order for me to get the team to do stuff sometimes was such a hassle. To mobilize, to get whatever, I set a man to come and set a camera and do this and do that and steady all day and shoot this and get all the angles right and make sure the audio is in properly and make sure the everything and the lighting is good and make sure the thing and make sure the battery don't run out properly and have a script and have a thing and make sure everybody's all of that was like pushing a boulder up a hill. It was so challenging. And this is to shoot a 2-minute video or something like that. And we have internet, electricity, we have cars, gasoline, we have everything right at our disposal. You can't tell me nothing. You can't tell me. Well, in order for us to capture the sunset, we're gonna have to drive to a okay. So that means let's get in the car that's parked right outside, and let's gasoline. You know what I mean? Like, And then you look at these Egyptians, these ancient Kemetic people, and you can tell me in the hot blazing sun without any crane, without any backhoe, without any big truck, without all these technological things, without gasoline powered, diesel powered engines and steam things, without all of that, you are going to build me a monument that I'm not going to use. When I'm dead, you could lost me somewhere inside of it. Nobody is allowed to use this massive monument. It serves no social function. It's not a community center. We're not going to store food in there. It doesn't protect us from our enemies. None of these things. And you're going to make it into a triangle and get the angle perfectly, Don't get the angle wrong, And also you're going to take 30 years to build it. And you're going to take 20,000 people to do this or whatever. And you're going to cut the rocks out of that quarry over there, and you're going to drag them hundreds of miles and hoist them up and line them up perfectly so that you can't even come today and take a credit card and swipe it in between. And also, you're also going to line it up perfectly with those stars up there that are always moving, by the way. And you're gonna build a little chamber that has a long tube in the side of it, so that when the sun sets at a specific time, the beam of light comes through the long tube, cut through the rocks, and hits this very specific. Kenny, I mean, this I just find the cognitive ability of, I mean, wait, there was no Maslow's hierarchy. There was no triangle at this point anymore. Or maybe the point of that was to say, look, we are at the top of the pyramid, and here we are, like, let's make a pyramid to demonstrate that our society has arrived at a point where we have the resources and the willpower and the time and the mental headspace and the organizational skills and the consistency and the cohesion and the accuracy of the math and the everything to do this completely useless thing. When I say useless, we could debate that, because here we are talking about it.
That was the aim, was to have people talking about it for centuries and centuries and centuries to come. Well, I don't really know if I could say, like, would you really say the Egyptians are? Is it just for show? Are they, like, they're not really are they problem solvers? Because they didn't even bother with the whole lice thing. They're like, just shave the head, wear a wig. We don't got time for that. We got pyramids to build. We ain't got time for that. Exactly. We have priorities.
Meanwhile, we are concerned with the perfect filter, the perfect snap filter, and does my, is this the right lighting for me, and do I look good, and stuff like that. And the Egyptians were figuring out how to align the pyramids with stars, with no mechanical equipment at all.
How would you think an Egyptian would exist in this day and age? Like, they'll be like, where's my chisel? Where's my backhoe? A truck? What's a truck?
I mean, maybe in this day and age, if you were to put let's say, whoever was the architect of those things, Imhotep, whoever, whatever, blah, 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 right? In this modern time, and you gave them the resources that we have at our disposal, I think that they would laugh at Elon Musk. They'd be like, bro, you haven't gotten to Mars yet? Like, I don't understand what's taking you so long. We've been building pyramids. Mars? You mean that
on
thing?
the verge before?
Like, we didn't have friggin' gasoline, and we were building pyramids and all these things. You have rockets, and you
like
can't establish
laughable.
a pyramid. Like, you're weak. They would laugh at Elon. They would laugh at us. They would laugh. They would laugh at our lack of will and our. I don't know, man. I don't know. Well, I mean, we do have we do have our breakthroughs and that kind of thing. We do have our scientific breakthroughs. Our biology, medicine is amazing. I think medicine is something that human beings. I think that's our pyramid. Probably that's our modern day pyramid in a way. Medicine.
Because we spend a lot of money in research and development. I think I can say at a global stance. I think every mega country is that, and then military, or no, military is first, then research and development. But yeah, I think that will be their main focus. And I guess aesthetics comes after building the tallest building. Which country has the tallest skyscraper now? I don't even know who is Dubai still number one? Somebody beat Dubai, or did Dubai make a second one?
I wonder. I thought I heard somebody had beat it the other day, but I kind of stopped paying attention. Do you know?
Pyramids. That's a pyramid now.
But do you know what was the tallest edifice that was built after the pyramids? So after the Great Pyramid, right? Okay. What was the next tallest building or edifice that mankind built? Structure, whatever.
See, now I don't know them in order.
I'm looking for it in order. What was the next order? Take a guess. What are the tall things that you're aware of? What are some tall things?
But that's the thing. They've advanced over the years. So at one point, wasn't the Empire State Building was the tallest building? Taipei 101 was the tallest building. I think even Paris thingy was the tallest structure at one point. The Eiffel Tower was the tallest structure, but everybody just keep beating it. So I don't know in order.
Well, okay, so you just needed to reverse the order, I guess, because it was the Eiffel Tower. That was the next tallest thing that humans ever built after the pyramids. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Wild.
It celebrated 100 years, just 27th of December. So.
Huh?
And they celebrated 100 years. Is it 100 years? Yeah, after.
It's just 100 years?
I think it's 100. Yeah, because the guy who made it died the 27th of December, 19 whatever it was.
Let me guess. 1923.
Gustav Eiffel, that's his name. 1923, he died.
Oh.
Which his parents, I wonder if they were both. I know they were by close to the German-Swiss border somewhere there, but I don't know. His name Gustav is giving me mixed situation going on there.
Oh yeah, because isn't that kind of kind of Swedish sort of sounding?
It's giving me that. But he was born in France, so in French territory. I just don't know if his parents or I do remember reading about that, but I forgot about his parents, if they're both French or not, Swiss, German. I don't know. Not too sure. It's like the whole Haussmann dude, George Haussmann, because it's he's born in France, but Haussmann. I mean, isn't that another one again?
Who is Haussmann? Who's that?
That's the guy who created the look of Paris, the iconic look of it. And
was it you that was telling me about that the other day?
Yeah, not a lot of people talk about him. Like I think that's a big deal because it actually stopped a whole destruction during World War II for this place. Because the Charles de Gaulle was basically like, yeah, no, don't. I mean, this is debatable somewhat. Please, nobody don't kill me. But allegedly, don't destroy the city because of the iconic look, and they never touched it, but they had to surrender. But yeah, but the reason why Paris looks like
that too.
It looks like is because of that. Is the architect.
So he designed the buildings, the actual physical.
Yeah, the architectural. Yeah.
Okay.
The iconic look of the buildings and everything.
I see. Interesting. This idea of designing what a place looks like. I mean, that in itself also speaks to what we were talking about earlier, which is, I mean, so it's like, okay, the difference between, and I think that's true about what because I've seen this in documentaries and stuff that they didn't, when Germany invaded and they were about to bomb, they were like, oh God, no, the Eiffel Tower, oh no, mais no, attends, no, whatever. That's all French, by the way. But whereas Britain during the same
Britain's like, bring it on.
Event, they were like, fucking bomb the shit. We don't care. Listen,
we're not backing down.
I found a campaign that was like there was a campaign, like a poster campaign or something, or like a newspaper campaign around the time that was simply London can take it. That was the campaign. That was it. Wow. And it was like a picture of it was an image of the bombing of the city bombed with like just like there was like a famous dome or something, some dome like building that was like the only thing left standing in this totally decimated area, and it just says London can take it on a poster. I'm like, that is badass. That's some badassery. You could say what you want about the British. There were some bad motherfuckers to be like, yo, bomb the shit. We don't care. Bomb it. We go underground. We don't care. Like, Dread, that's wild.
When you watch this stuff, documentaries, and this building gets exploded, like, people survive. Good, let's clean it up. Let's everybody come together. It's like, I'm like, wow, it's such a like a normalcy at that time. Isn't that where the whole London Bridge is falling down chant come from?
Is it? Maybe, probably. I know that's where the whole keep calm and carry on thing came from as well. That was another thing around that time, which is just because and it was psychological because the Germans thought that doing this would demoralize the British people, and they were like, we can't let them actually physically, like, we can't let them demoralize our spirit. We can't let them. That would make them win. So, Dread, imagine having to I find this fascinating as a communicator, like from a work standpoint in a way, because like, okay, it's one thing to say buy this product or whatever it is, but to get people to have like an ideology and a way of thinking and behaving and not and actually going up against humanity, because if a bomb is falling from the sky on my house or my village or my whatever it is, I can be forgiven for panicking and kind of being a little bit freaked out by that. You're telling me that we could take it and that I must keep calm and carry on. What? To try to go now and convince people en masse, not just one person of this, but convince the entire country of this. I just think that is fascinating, that to be able to do that mechanism. First of all, it's fascinating that the mechanism exists in the human collective mind, that collectively we can be kind of, you know, herded into a type of thinking. So that alone is fascinating to me. But also the fact that a small set of people, or one person or whatever, can make it happen. That's crazy. So when you talk about common tropes and about hearing things over and over again, I'm like, but girl, when you think there are people who are able to control human society's mind, like, of course. There's people who can totally change the way that you think.
Yeah, they had. I think there's linking to this. There was a lady. She it's a YouTuber. She makes she's British. She makes really good like historical dressing. She does stuff like in the 70s, 60s, 40s, 50s, and earlier. She's really good at that. And I think she was addressing questions that people had, if I remember. And she was talking about, somebody was asking questions about something to do with the windows. I don't remember exactly, but why the windows were blacked out. And she said that was during the war, that at certain times they had to pretend like nobody lived there. Because if they had lights on and a plane went by, so they had to blacken out. And that's what she said. That's why they had that on the window. I don't know if it was on her window still. Maybe that's why they asked the question. I was like, yeah, like to think back then you had to blacken out your windows to make it seem like nobody was home. That's how you had to survive.
I mean, but also look, like we just came through something monumental and historic too. It wasn't a war, but it was a global pandemic where
we survived COVID.
Yeah, we literally had to, like, there were lockdowns. We had to stay inside. We had to stand 6 feet apart from each other. We had to go and line up and stand up on a certain square or a little marker that tells you the distance.
Food rationing. Food rationing.
There were separations. We had to wear masks. You know, every time you're going, you had to write. We had to like, to go into a store, you had to pump a thing and get sprayed or whatever. But at one point, you had to write your name and your contact information. They had to be able to find you. You had to register everywhere that you went.
Yeah.
I mean, you had to wait for when your zone was allowed out.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, it's like the same thing in a way, isn't it?
we kind of went through some shit. Some really wild shit. Do you remember a feeling of like, I remember having a feeling at one point of like, holy shit, this thing might be real. Like when, I think it was when St. Kitts first announced that it was gonna go into a lockdown. We didn't go into, it was like next week we're gonna go into a lockdown because they found a couple of cases here or something like that. And I remember thinking, I was like, oh shit, this isn't just something that is on CNN or on the, because like SARS, I remember bird flu, swine flu, SARS, but them things were like American.
Yeah,
you know, you saw them sit in America and stuff and CNN and thing. Yeah, but like when St. Kitts had to shut down, I was like, oh, okay.
That's when it became real.
Like, damn. Did you have a feeling like that? Do you remember?
In France, that's the thing. No, I didn't feel it. I didn't. I think I would have felt it more if I was in St. Kitts, because in the Caribbean, you feel like these things don't come down to the Caribbean. But because I was living in a country where it could come, I just kind of accepted it. But,
and then the French love kiss, 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 kiss everybody all up into the face all the time anyway. So do French people still do that? Do they still do that?
I still see some people do it, but not as much as before. I think people now are doing like fist bumps or but no bisou. That's what it's called, like bisou. I don't often see it. I may have seen that. I think I saw it once already for the year, but like before, it used to be like every time somebody meets somebody, it's bisou, bisou, bisou all the time. But
I like the bisou. I want a bisou.
It was. Nice. I remember when I first came here, it was awkward because I wasn't used to it. So when I first met somebody and they were approaching me, I was like, "Oh, right, the bisou thing." I was like, "What I do?" And they just kind of guide you into it. I'm like, "Okay," because I didn't know what to do. This is not what we do in the Caribbean. So,
don't they have like different like numbers in different parts of France? Like in the more urban parts of France, it's like 1 or 2, I think, but in like more rural parts, it's like 3, or like they go or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know the count. They do have some places where I know in Paris is at least 1. Wait, I think it's 3. Wait, is it 3? I haven't done this so long. I don't know. No, just 2, 1 and 2. And there's some places that do like 4, I think. And then there's some places like 6 or something. I don't know. But in Paris, it's just 2.
I think cultures that like kiss and touch each other, I find that also very fascinating. I find just like language, I think it's an indication of something. Not necessarily, and I'm not necessarily trying to say, I don't want this to be read in terms of like I think it would be too simple to think about it as like one culture is more advanced than the other. I think that's kind of, I don't think that makes sense that way. I think it's more, what's the conditionality that would inform that type of behavior? Because like for instance, I remember in Berlin, there is as soon as you go into the airport in can't remember which one it was, but do you know? I wonder. Oh, I have it on the picture. You know this? It's like those 2 guys kissing.
That was from the wall.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So this, like, it's called, I guess, I think this Soviet kiss or something. I was shocked because it's right there in the airport. It's like a mural, and then I realized.
I think
at first I thought.
I don't remember.
Wait, sorry. Say that again. The headphones.
I was trying to remember that an artist did it. I just wasn't too sure where it was. Like if it was close to. Like if it was back in the the late 80s before they destroyed the wall, or I couldn't quite remember exactly. But
okay. Something like that. I think it was. I don't remember if it was painted on the wall originally, or if it was first painted and then it was transferred to the wall. But I know it has something to do with the wall, and it's the Soviet kiss, and So I first thought, when I saw it, because I didn't know that it was a famous piece of artwork. I'd never seen it. So when I saw it, I just thought, okay, it's clearly an artwork, because it's clearly an artistic rendering of something. It's clearly you can see, and when I say this, I mean, I think it's actually based on a photograph. But the way it's rendered, you can see, it has the impression that this is that this moment and this it's kind of like a haiku, right? A haiku might say something simple like round water droplet on peach blossom leaf. I mean, is that artistic, or is that just a photograph? Is that just what happened? But it's artistic because it's the choice of of expressing that specific angle and moment in time and isolating it and giving it word and giving it human observation. So that artwork has that spirit in it as well, is what I'm saying. It also strikes as something that is an artist's observation of something. Right. So when I started to hear, I was like, oh, okay, this is something. But I thought it was to do with sexuality. Because it's two old men kissing each other on the mouth. And I thought, is this saying that, like, is the artist trying to advocate for some type of free love that, or is he trying to say that like homosexual love expression isn't confined just to young able-bodied men, but that it's also something that can be expressed over a lifetime by older people, or that it's something. I thought it was something along that line. I was like, okay, what's this, But then I looked it up because I was so curious, because I started seeing it more and more around Berlin, and I saw, oh, this is the Soviet kiss, which is apparently in Soviet countries it was normal for men to kiss each other on the mouth, like older men.
That's what I thought that came from. Yeah,
it is. But that particular photo is, because I think one of them is Russia and one is someone Berlin, Germany, whatever. It's two Soviet countries that were like not happy with each other, and the kiss is a moment when they all came together, and it represents that moment. It's representing this moment of peace and unity and whatever. And
didn't Russia take over Berlin? Was it Russia that had, who had Berlin during war?
I don't know these people's history, right?
You just go to their country and you're like, eh.
I know some European history. I know about Anastasia, the Russian family, and the killer Romanovs, and I know a lot about Elizabeth I, and I know a lot about some of the British monarchs because I find them fascinating, and some other things. I learned about the Berlin Conference the other day, which I was like, these motherfuckers. The Berlin Conference.
What is
in 1884 or something like that. This was when the Chancellor of Germany decided to call all of the heads of Europe together and said, yo, you know something? We are killing each other and wasting resources by fighting each other over the New World, right? Over Africa. Let's just split it up evenly between us. Let's literally just get a big map and put it up on the wall, and let's literally just draw some lines. There's a bit, so we know the general shape of the continent. So let's just, shall we? So let's just take, okay, so I'm gonna draw about here, so, and I'm gonna call it, I don't know how they fucking did it, but I'm gonna draw, oh, this is South, because it's at the bottom, so we can call it South Africa. So we'll start down, and who wants that? Okay, and then Portugal, which part you want, and Netherlands, where you want, and Britain, how much you want, and yo, the man them literally just
they had tea afterwards
with no actual standing. Kenny, this would be as if CARICOM were to get together, all the heads of CARICOM, and we can call it the Kingstown Conference, because it might be in Grenada or wherever. That's what the capital is, or whatever. And we're gonna say, yo,
Georgetown.
I think America is, I don't think they can govern themselves. So let's get a map of America up on the wall, and let's just start. Let's just start.
You want this piece here?
Let's go in alphabetical order. Let's go in alphabetical order, right?
Anguilla.
Anguilla.
What you want?
You want this? Like, we can call this part up here New Anguilla. That's enough. Like, yo, the man just. I mean, I'm simplifying it a little bit.
Yeah,
But
sure
that's for the people that did.
That was a good laugh.
So I know that, but I don't know about who was the other one. The who had Berlin and whatever.
I think it. I keep mixing it up with. I don't think it's Hungary. I think it's Russia. Because they needed help. America and the UK needed help to take down. You know what was going on. So
this is the First World War?
No, the second.
The second, okay.
I think
because I get them confused. Because wasn't the first and the second between the same set of people? Germany.
Wasn't it? I don't know. Was the US involved?
Okay. I don't think the US was involved in the first one. But Germany, the UK, France, wasn't France in it too? In the First World? Yeah, all of them had some mix up. To me, I'm like, yo, can y'all listen? I think let's, as CARICOM, get together and let's divide Europe. And let's just take it for ourselves.
We're doing this again.
Redraw the lines and just take it. Because apparently that's what people do.
Order.
Apparently that's what groups of countries do to other continents. They just kind of come together and just say, yo, which piece you want? And let me be fair. Let me say, yo, I mean, oh yeah. Anyway, what were we talking about?
We were all over the place in this session. I just wanted to look it up real quick though. Hang on, because hang on.
We were talking about the Soviet kiss. That's what we're talking about men kissing each other in public. About old Russian and Italian men kissing each other.
Yeah, so it was those three at that time in the Second World War. So it's US, UK, and Russia. Well, I don't know if maybe it's USSR at that time. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
The second.
The second, yeah. What was the US in the first? I don't know.
The first one.
I don't know. I think it was kind of between the same set of people.
Geez, everybody. Okay, you see now. Yeah. Wait, hang on. Okay, the main people again. Germany, Austria-Hungary, Turkey, France. Oh, they were against the Allies: France, UK, Russia, Italy, Japan. Japan was in this one. Okay. Italy
yes. Yes, I remember learning that Japan was in the first one. But I'm still confused about why Japan got involved in the Second World War. I'm kind of like it always
wasn't it support?
I don't know what it was. I think it was like an opportunistic thing. Like I've seen it. Like it's one. Have you ever like learned something many times and you keep forgetting it? Like cricket, for instance. I've learned cricket many times in my life.
Have you?
And yes. And every time I learn cricket, I forget it like immediately. Like for a job or for whatever it is. I remember I used to tweet for like a cricket sponsor or something at one point. So I had to learn the rules and kind of stuff. But like I'm learning why Japan did the whole Pearl Harbor thing and stuff and whatever. Because I was curious. I was like, what do Japan just kind of come in the last shower of rain, so and all of a sudden they get the self-bomb up and all kind of thing and think, what? And I watched this over and over. I looked it up. I keep thinking, every time I always forget. I just like, I can't remember why. And I can't bother to go look and see. anymore.
I do. I feel like I get them confused sometimes. Because I know it like, then okay, let's not talk about war. I just get confused. Let's not talk about war.
Yeah, we're talking about kissing a while ago.
Painting, Berlin,
people touching each other and how cultures touch each other.
Languages, yes.
Yeah, and communicating and all that. I mean, I like, don't get me wrong. To me, the war thing is also very interesting because it's also a signal of where a country is at, like socially, you know, like how much shit have you gotten yourself involved in that you need to have like a strong defense thing? How many people have you pissed off? How much stuff have you tried to conquer? How many things have you tried to take from other people? How much whatever, how many things have you gotten? Just like, you know, it depends, and that will indicate the sophistication of your military and of all the things that you have going on, you know. Gosh, you know, it's so crazy that human beings can advance in so many ways, right? In science and medicine and communication and art and all these things, and also at the same time remain so primitive in our behavior. We just like to fight. I don't know how to say it more. We just like fight. We just like to fight.
Did you ever see the video? You must have seen, it's old, with the Jamaican guy. He was a comedian, and they said, "What happened? Jamaicans were the leaders of UN," and he's like, "Well, what should I say?" And he had the button on the wall, but he's like, "So, like what he said?"
Oh no, I don't remember this.
What he said? Well, what should I say? Russia, come, say it again, say it again. When you say Russia, and let me press the button. That was so funny.
No, that's true. It's true. You know, we just have a. I don't know, like the more a society grows and advances and expands, is the more stuff it has to fight for, and the more sophisticated its fighting has to be, I guess. So what do we do? Do we not expand? Is it possible for a society to advance and expand both technologically and scientifically and ideologically, and also be peaceful? Is it possible for the world to do that? That's our homework. Discuss.
Homework? We got homework assignment.
Well, I'm home and you're home, and we're both working. No, but is that possible? Has it ever been done?
So. Nope.
Yeah.
We could try, but I don't think so.
Yeah. Wild. The nature of mankind, eh? Fight. Yeah. So this is wild. We are literally 2 hours in, and what have we been talking about? Like, what is this?
Everything and everything. Anything and everything.
I mean, I was thinking about so by the way, do you know, have you ever heard of that? Well, I don't know what it's called, but this was a theory that I heard about a long time ago. That in every conversation, every 40 minutes, there's a lull on average. So every long conversation, if you know, when you average them out, about every 40 minutes or so, there's like a natural kind of lull, and then it picks back up again. It's almost like a rhythm of that happens among, like a natural rhythm.
I don't recall that 40-minute, well, more than 40 minutes ago. I mean, I do. Okay. Was there a lull?
Maybe we can go longer than 40 minutes. Maybe we are above the average.
Remember when 10 minutes voice notes used to be? And on that note, we'll leave it there.
You and your voice. Do you still have a fear of voice notes though? You still.
I only send long ones to you. I don't send long ones to other people.
You need to go out and be fishers of men. You need to go out and create more voice note zombies. That's the whole point of this. I have created an empire of long voice note people, and I am going to take full credit personally. Me, Cleon John.
Okay.
I take credit for WhatsApp upgrading from, because you remember when it used to be like 2-minute maximum or like a 1-minute max or some kind of a maximum. Well, maybe you don't remember because you're not an OG. But back in the old days, back in the old days of voice notes, right? Us original like World War I voice noters.
Really?
We were restricted to like maybe 2 minutes or something. And over time, it increased. And now it's like, just slide up the button and talk for us. Well, no, I think it's like, they give you like a natural, like there's like, it's weird because like, sometimes it stops at 30 minutes on WhatsApp. And then sometimes it allows you to go over. So I've sent 2-hour-long voice notes.
Okay. Wow. What? That's so longer than movies.
Right? So I am telling you that I am taking full accountability for creating this spread of people sending long voice notes. Because when I remember my friend Caleb and I is who started sending each other long voice notes. And then I started to convert other people. And then they started to convert other people and more people. So I've been spreading.
I don't understand. Why is this something to be proud about?
Because it's a form of communication. It's a like, I will die happy if in a textbook somewhere there's like a little tiny citation that says voice notes originated somewhere around 2000, and like long voice notes originated somewhere along around 2014, 13, 14. Wow. With Cleon John and some of his friends who would send long voice notes. It doesn't even have to, it could just say it's rumored. That's all. It doesn't even need to be a fact. Just let it be a rumor that I started. I'm responsible for long voice notes because it's it's such a beautiful form of communication, because it's different from a conversation, right? With a conversation, I mean, it has its flow, a conversation, right? And and all these things and whatever. But sometimes in a conversation, you can become flustered with not knowing what to say. You know that the other person is waiting to hear from you. Sometimes in a conversation, it veers in different directions because the other person will introduce something that you weren't expecting, and you kind of take it goes a certain thing. Right. And it meanders in its own way. A voice note meanders in its own way as well, but entirely of the person's thoughts. But it includes the person's impression of who they're talking to as well, because it's like so if I send a voice note to you, I am speaking about different things than I would when I'm sending a voice note to my friend David. So it's not just a conversation with myself. I'm taking you into consideration but you're not present. But you have to sit and listen to all of what I have to say, and I don't know. I like the restriction of it.
Really? I don't know about the last word, yeah. I don't know if you take me into consideration. I don't know sometimes. I don't know about that word.
What are you trying to say?
Because the dude sometimes that times, but then since you have a footnote or citation, mine should be when Cleongo in his long pauses, skip. When Cleongo talks about things that have no skip, just times it.
You skip my voice.
The silence is real. Can you not just be yeah, sorry, I was just checking.
And then sometimes I was
just checking something real quick. You talking or what?
But that's beautiful because you wouldn't get that. I mean, because what that is, right? I mean, I guess you could have that in a conversation too, but like it's more like the fact that in a long voice note like that, you will have those same lulls and those same awkwardnesses, and also you have all these like interruptions that happen. So Guinness is a part of all of my voice notes.
Those are funny. Those are funny with you. Yeah, I look forward to those. When you get angry. Oh, I'm sorry. I enjoyed that.
Sometimes I think about like, will people listen back to these years later and hear me with Guinness and just all the random crap, you know? It's a slice of life, you know? It's a slice of real life.
Okay, she don't get a black dog. I was like, wait, what? That took me off guard. I was not expecting that.
No, but it's true though. Having a black dog is a serious issue at night too, because
you can't have like a neon colored flashy.
I need to get him like a jacket, exactly, like, or a neon collar or something like that. But then if he's out in the bush, and we're out in the bush where there's not much light to reflect, then the neon won't, unless it's a moonlight thing. So I don't know. Maybe I should like actually get him like a light up jacket that is like
for nighttime.
You know,
I'm here. Here I am.
Oh my god. But yeah, but I was gonna ask about so I was thinking about, well, what will we talk about in this? I mean, I don't know if this is really a podcast, because this doesn't even have the kind of thought that a podcast would generally have. But like, yeah, I mean, it's the start of the year, and I don't know, like I find myself kind of are you still on vacation? Are you still like, have you gone back to work?
No, not until next week. This is my last week.
Ah, okay. And are you excited? Like, how do you feel? I know this is kind of like a banal question, but like, how does, like, because I'm thinking about 2024 in the context of like a global society that is like, I still think of post-COVID, which is kind of weird because I know it's like, okay, it's gone, but I do think of us still that way, because I think about how a lot of things did change, and we're only like a couple of years post it, and what that means is people are more stable. I think people feel a bit more. I feel like industries are a bit more hopeful again. I think people are planning things again. I think people are in a future minded. I think the last couple of years we were kind of like, oh my god, am I gonna die next month? But no, we're more like, I think I want to apply for some residencies this year, or I think I want to do no, or whatever, you know. We're kind of thinking more of like higher up along the hierarchy of things. So do you feel that way as well, like that you're more hopeful?
Well, I am hopeful, but it wasn't really because of COVID. It just it was just I'm definitely in a better position now than I was during 2020. So it allowed me, but really for me, it's more like I would want to do more at residence. I want to try at residencies or to look into that this year. But I would say the only reason is because it's more of I feel confident in what I'm doing now rather than the opportunity wasn't there. So it's like, because last year I took an investment to get a new camera, get a new lens. And I know skill doesn't always equate to equipment, but I was looking for something in particular that I know I needed an upgrade to reflect that in my equipment. So that helped to boost the confidence in what I was able to do, and to improve the skillful level of that. So no, basically last year was like a test run to see how I use that to my advantage. And now I feel better with it to know I can apply for things like that. But
interesting.
I'm pretty sure though it is still linked with COVID, because I'm sure now, since places are open, because wasn't Japan just open last year, like early last year, without any like legal, you have to do this and quarantine, all that. I think Japan just find it's like you could come here freely now. So it's still pretty relevant. So now maybe there's more opportunities open now for art residencies in Japan, for example, just to give an example there. So so yeah,
so you want to do an art residency in Japan? Is that what you're thinking?
I don't know if realistically if I can do that. Remind me to have this conversation again next month. just we'll leave it at that. Next month we have this conversation again.
Okay. Interesting. But that's more something technical. That's not about your own sense of, like, that's not like a self-doubt thing.
Oh no, yeah, that was more technical. Because
I see. Okay.
I needed the
I see.
equipment to what I envisioned with what I wanted.
That's what you mean, like about doing a residency in Japan, that you think it would be based on equipment?
Because I feel like because when you go to do certain, well, I haven't looked in all the residencies, but a common thing I see, like they're looking for like a project to do, and I didn't want my equipment to limit me in what I was capable of doing for a project, if that makes sense.
Interesting.
Because like, just to give an example, let's say I wanted to do a project, I don't know, something like something that would limit like my camera before. I can't take night shots. What would happen if my project reflected the nightlife of a particular city in Japan, the infamous, I don't know, red light district? I don't know, just to give an example. I wouldn't be able to do so with my old camera because the quality wasn't good. It can't take night pictures very well, whereas my new equipment can reflect that now. So now I have more options for projects I can do, not just limiting me to daytime stuff.
Yes. You should also look for residencies that that pay. Because like you might be, but some residency, I mean, a stipend, some stipends are not some stipends are more than what the connotation is. The connotation that stipend is barely anything. Some stipends are actually pretty decent. That, you know, you could actually buy a light, or you could buy if it's not like a major equipment upgrade, you could use a portion of your stipend to purchase whatever it is. And I think I have to look more. I should send you some links that I mean, everything is all over the place, because it's like sometimes where I store these things are in all these different notes and places and stuff. But sometimes maybe I didn't even store it. I don't know. But I've definitely seen residencies and stuff that I remember seeing one that had something like you had to submit a budget for like certain tools, and like some of them are really advanced, where when you submit for it, they'll ask you, well, what tools do you need? Do you need, I don't know, supplies? Do you need equipment? Do you need whatever, you know? And it could go so they'll give you like up to a certain amount. So there's different ones. There's different ones too, you know. So look for different. Just look broadly. Maybe even look for like funded fellowships or funded residencies or whatever, you know, specifically for ones that have funding.
Okay.
You know, that might help. And if I see anything, I'll send you as well. But yeah,
there's definitely one in France I like to try. It's not now. The deadline is late. It's open later, but I've already seen it, where I saw Well, it's in like southern France, but if you're living in France, it's easy. You just go down there for, I think it's only for a month though. But if you're living here in the country, it already helps. But I saw one of the jury people that was on the members, and when I saw his name, I was like, that can't be who I think it is. It because I saw. Now this guy is a big deal for me in the art community because he was the art director for Art Basel. His name is Hans. I always get his name messed up. Albrecht Hans. Yeah. I don't want to get him messed up like Wata Tatiki's name.
Oh my God. You did that on purpose. And you know it annoys me when you do that. You did that on purpose.
Okay. Hans Ulrich Obrist. I don't know how to say that properly. But he's the dude who did he always used to do, like back in the day, he used to do the art. You know what Art Basel? Maybe you don't know Art Basel. I don't know. But yeah, Art Basel's all over the world. Well, primarily in Switzerland and Miami. Do they do it in the UK?
Art Basel?
Yeah, Basle. I think it originated in Switzerland because of the...
Is this some type of like a street art thing where like a lot of people come together and it is like a festival of people selling art?
It's an art festival. So
because you said Miami, somebody told me about this in Miami the other day.
Yeah, because they have a Miami version, but they don't call it Art Miami. It's still like the brand name is Art Basel, but it's held in Miami. Is what it is. And this art director, he's always been known for it. So when I saw him as a jury, I was like, ooh, one day I will apply and have him look.
So what you don't why one day? Why not today? Why not now?
It's not the time yet. I think the submissions are because the residencies for fall. So
so you're planning to like
later
soon.
in the year, like maybe March or so, maybe somewhere around there.
Right. So you're planning.
That's what I mean.
Okay. I see. Yeah. I mean, shit. Why not? My thing is apply for anything. Apply. I tell you, last year was a year of applying for stuff. Actually, when I do like a review of
gosh, man.
Yes. It's tiring physically and mentally and emotionally. It's very, very challenging because first of all, it's challenging because you have to kind of it's challenging finding the things that are kind of right for you, right? The things that you think are accessible, that you're eligible for, that match what you want to do, that meet the different criteria that you're looking for, that might be in a place that is interesting to you, that might be whatever, all these different things, just the research aspect of it and finding what they are, and then keeping track of the deadlines. Because you might find 3 or 4 different ones that you want to apply for around a certain set of time and thing, and you might have one thing that you're working on that could apply to all of them, but because there's slightly different themes, or they're looking for different aspects of that thing, you'll have to edit your thing to you don't just want to send a blanket thing. You want to try, because these are super competitive things. These are things, I mean, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of artists all around the world are applying for these things, and you are aware of that. Some of them tell you that. Listen, there's one I can't remember what it was, and I guess I shouldn't even say what it is anyway, but they literally say, listen, it says it, and I think it's Dutch. This goes back to the whole Dutch directness, right? It literally says on the web page, there are so many really good producers or directors or whatever that apply for this, that if you don't have a really good reel, don't bother. They're like, it don't make no sense. They literally say, it don't make no sense. Don't apply. We're not going to look at it. If you don't have a video, if you don't have, it doesn't mean I'll look at it. Why would we? It's literally there in black. I'm like, whoa, damn. Okay. So it's then like thinking about, okay, getting into this competitive mind state, and then like applying, and then I applied for a lot of things. I did like a spreadsheet of all of the things that I applied for last year. I haven't finished. But I think it's something like 50 something, like 50, 52 or 54, some weird number like that, and I'm not finished. I know that there is stuff that I forget because I will literally get emails. Like I would get emails. I would wake up in the morning, and this is Europe and where everyone all over the place. So 3 o'clock in the morning, I hear a ping come through, wake me up on my phone, an email comes through from some institution saying, "We regret to inform you that you are not selected for whatever." I'm like, thank you. That's a great way to start my day, to begin my day with rejection from something that I forgot that I applied to, So it's like, it gets to a point where you get denied for so many things. You start to think, oh my God, I mean, maybe I'm just not there yet, like artistically or creatively or
When did you apply? Not specifically, but just like the time frame last year. When did you apply for the one where you're going to the Netherlands and the one where you went to Dominican Republic?
Everything like 11:59 on the deadline. Everything. There's not one thing that I've applied for a week in advance. Everything is the last day.
Well, okay. Everything. So for the Netherlands one, the Netherlands one was for the year before. So did they require an early application, or I guess they have like a big span, like you have 4 months to apply. You went right down to the very last.
Yeah, most of them will like tell you like maybe 2 months in advance, or sometimes a month in advance or something when the deadline is. And some of them have like early submission dates and late submission dates and stuff. Some of them is only one submission date, whatever. So I just there's some of them, because some of them, like for instance, you have to pay to submit. So they might say like the early submission date is free on the 15th, but after the 30th you have to pay, or something like that, or whatever. They just have different kind of configurations. But I am because one, I'm also working and trying to make money and trying to survive and buy dog food and put gas in my car. So like I don't always have the time to sit down, and sometimes I'm tired coming back from a long day, whatever. I don't have the time to sit and do, because the thing about these proposals is that you don't get paid for them. So it's a lot of time spent in heavy research, heavy cognitive mode, reading and rereading things and putting something down and coming back to it again and checking back the website to make sure that it makes sense, and looking at some of the other competition, which not competition, but like the previous submissions to see what the vibe is and where you need to fit and thing and on all these things. And then it's a lot. So a lot of the times I mean that's not an excuse for submitting at the last moment, but like still that's what has been happening. So that's also exhausting. Like when today's the 15th, and if I don't send this thing by 11:59 AST, I might as well just kiss this opportunity goodbye. And I don't even know if I'm even gonna get through. But okay. And so you just sit all day and you drink coffee and you just keep at it, and you just what time is it? And you just that's exhausting. I just do that all the time, all year. It was exhausting. So last year was an exhausting year in the sense of like I made a lot of attempts for things, but you don't get paid for these things, is what I'm saying. So like you're doing actual work, but and so why I did the table, the spreadsheet, was because I was applying for so many things I kept forgetting. But I also wanted to see what. Like, I just wanted empirical data. I wanted to see how many things I applied for. Did I apply for as many things as I thought? More than I thought? Less than I thought? Should I be a bit more organized? Should I cut it down to a certain number? can I look at the types of things that I was applying for and make an assessment of, okay, well, I'm trying to shift my career into this particular type of direction, so it would make more sense to apply for these things and prioritize these things and not so much these other ones and whatever and stuff like that. So I was trying to think, but I also just wanted to see like what was the ratio of acceptance versus rejection. And I mean, I got into EFM, Doc Leipzig, the Tilting Axis Fellowship, and literally in the last week of December, there was like a creative arts fund that they have in St. Kitts, that I also applied for like 2-3 months before, and I got that grant as well. It's a small grant, but like I kind of just applied because I was applying for things. So 4 things out of like maybe 50 something, maybe 60 things that I applied for. This is including proposals, residency things, festival things, blah blah blah, just anything that I had to write a proposal and do a submission and try to and spend time to like think about it and come up with an idea and organize it and answer the things that they're looking for and make the document look good and put the page numbers and put the proper things and yeah.
Aww. Okay, you're giving me an idea what my year will look like. Lots of that.
Yeah, maybe. Because hey,
you did do stuff last year still. Like you went to Berlin, Dominican Republic. So you did there's things you still did, even though you were applying for other things at the same time. So
I should have gone to Germany twice.
You should have
been in. I should have been in Germany in I think October for Doc Leipzig, but I couldn't get the funding to go. So I would have been in Germany twice last year.
Can't keep away, can you?
Yo, I really like Germany, you know. I really like Germany and Germans. I don't know what it is.
Because you're Robert, boy. You're walking. I can't wait for you to meet Robert. I am this year, boy. I asked him if it'll be when you coming again, April? When are you coming, May?
I'll be there in between March and May.
Between March and May. Okay, so I asked him
that's when I'll be in the Netherlands. So I can always hop over during that time.
I'll see where he wants to. I'll see. It depends on Robert's feeling. He might be, extra patriotic and be like, "No, come to Germany." You know that's.
I'm happy to. I listen. Any excuse. Any excuse. You really think that you could handle me and Robert being in the same room together?
I wonder if both of you can handle how my reaction is gonna be. No. I think it's the other way around. Because I am going to act like a little school giddy girl to have the two of you there. I'm gonna be like, just talk. Just talk. I'm gonna be
already giddy. You're already in La La Land, okay?
Like it's gonna be another level. I cannot wait until the two Roberts meet.
Does he have a dog?
Robert?
Yeah.
I don't unless his kid asks for a dog. Robert's not a dog person. He's a cat person. Weird.
He's a cat person.
Yep. Okay. Weirdo.
Right. Like who's a cat person? I didn't want to say.
I don't know.
It is what it is. Different strokes for different folks, I guess.
Yes, I suppose he likes himself some cats. So
okay. So this year you wanna do more art things, and that's probably kind of related to your own hierarchy of needs, because since you moved to France, 5 years ago?
Yeah. Wow.
The first 2 years would have been completing your master's degree.
Yeah.
And then I guess 3 years after that, you've been working for 3 years in France?
No, it's not officially. It's coming soon to 3. I didn't start exactly on the first day of the third year because that was during COVID time and it wasn't easy to find a job. So it was more the latter end of the third year I got the job.
Right. So there was a master's degree, then there was a pandemic, then you had to find a job. And I think that and by the way, your job is in something that I think you've never done before in your life.
Yeah.
Sales. I mean, you're an artist, you're a creative agency rat, and you're an agency mouse like me, and you are in a what I consider. I mean, it's funny because I think sales is actually a very creative field, but it to me it just has so much technicality with it as well that I think it's not often viewed that way. How do you find that? Do you find that you use your creativity a lot? In sales?
Ooh. It depends. Your creativity in a sense of how I think I would say, and honestly, I would say it's more psychological. How do you get creative to talk to somebody who doesn't want to talk to you? That's basically sales. Because at the end of the day, you're disturbing somebody. They don't know you.
Yeah.
Why should you even bother talk to them? So your creativeness could come in your approach, what you say, or what you write. If you're writing an email. And to me, like sometimes the best reactions I had with people just me being Kenny Penny, like me just doing or saying things. Like the example I gave with the guy who just basically ghosted me for a week, and I went to his manager and I'd be like, "Is Cleon John dead or alive? Just let me know. I just need to know if he's dead or alive. I don't want to bother him anymore." The guy actually responded to me laughing. He's like, "No, Cleon's alive, but he was on vacation. He'll get back to you next week," and he did. He got back.
Yeah.
So I just kind of let go, and just like kind of just show them. I guess it really is important to show them a human side, because when you're too robotic, they feel it, and that's from my own trial and error. I was robotic at first, and it didn't feel natural, and I just started to just be crazy, in my own way, not too crazy, but yeah, that's the only creative element I can go. I can really say,
that's very creative. That's copywriting. I imagine somebody who's good at sales would be a great copywriter. That's what copywriting is. It's figuring out a script that is it's persuasive writing. That's all copywriting is. It's persuasive writing, and you have to think persuasively. You're trying to persuade somebody to what you're doing is you're sort of thinking about a kind of an end result. The end result is that you want this person's attention. You want a positive attention. So you're qualifying the result of this, and you're working backwards. Exactly. You're thinking, because what you did, for instance, listen, that is such a copywriter thing to do, right? When you're like, oh, is this person dead or alive? That's because it's like, how can I take something perfectly obscure, like a small collection of words, because one, you're aware that you can't use a lot of words. You need to use as few of them as possible, because people aren't going to read them. You're armed with very, very weak tools. Well, not weak. They're unassuming.
Limited.
They're unassuming because with those unassuming tools, and you can only use a few of them. It's like rocks. It's like Goliath. You're trying to, you only have rocks. What do I, well, if I only had a few rocks and a big giant, I would try and aim I would take one rock and hit him in the right place. I wouldn't fling them all over his butt. I wouldn't fling it on his leg. I would make sure to fling it right in his temple or wherever, So you want to create an impact and turn somebody's head, which is hitting them with a rock, an effective rock, with as few words as possible. So when you send me an email asking me if one of my most important employees is dead or alive, I'm gonna open it. I'm gonna open the email first of all. That's the first thing I'm gonna do, is I'm gonna open the email or the text or whatever it is you sent.
That's probably what happened to him.
And then, because out of alarm, and then when I realize, oh, this person is being facetious or joking, and this person is a salesperson trying to do something, I'll be like, oh, Okay, but that's kind of clever, and it will endear me to you in a way that it wouldn't other, which is what you want to do. You're trying to throw a rock and get somebody's attention, and you're trying to endear them to you, which is persuasive, the persuasive part of the whole exercise. So I see that. I think that's kind of cool, actually.
It's the hardest job ever. It's not easy. It's the hardest level, I say, in sales, because you have the BDRs, you have accounts executives, and then you have the customer facing ones with like the back end kind of way. Where I was is the BDRs, and that's, or SDRs they may call it, sales representative.
The BDSM.
No, sales development representative.
Yeah, BDSM.
Really. SDRs and BDRs.
Yeah, BDSM. I get it. I heard you the first time.
Okay. Right.
But let me ask
I hope Gideon is not in the room.
Gideon is fast asleep over there. Cock up. Do you find that this competes with your because it's creative what you're doing, but it is sales, and it's numbers, and it's for work, and it's a job, and you're doing it because you need a job, and it's a good enough job, and it works, and then you're good at it, and I get that, and we all have that part of things, but do you find that this sort of competes with your other artistic curiosities and ambitions? Because I know you as a writer and a painter and a photographer and just a generally annoying person, but that's not part of your art stuff. That's just you. So do you find that this, like, over the last 3 years or 2 and something years or whatever it is, that you've not had your creative juices properly squeezed?
I actually would say sales have helped in some sense, because you're breaking, like, for me as a photographer now, I have to always break out of the comfort zone. So one of the exercises I had was during Paris Fashion Week, where I had to actually ask people for photos, and I've never done that before. And I feel like sales helped because I was speaking to strangers all the time. I don't know who they are. I don't know who Cleon John is, but I had to, like, I guess the
world knows who Cleon John is.
Bear with me here. Gosh, man. Because really, when you're calling somebody on the phone, you have like 60 seconds really to engage them, because you don't have more than a minute. And you're if you get to 2-minute line, you're on your way. That's good stuff. But you have to do so much in 60 seconds. And that's kind of for me have pushed me to kind of be open in terms of what is it I want to capture with my photography. If I know I need a photo of this person, like the little boy, the guy holding the little boy on the wire, would the old Kenisha just stay in the bus and just look by and be like, moment gone? Or the one that's outside the box now, who's come out of a comfort zone, jump out the bus, tell the bus stop, jump out the bus and run down there. So that's I feel like that's what it's helped me. I could just picture
your little feet just running down with the
Yes,
camera.
I did. I'm like, where's the next? I pressing the button, like, let's get out of here. I need to get out of here, and I run down there. But I think if sales wasn't a thing, I wouldn't have done that before, because maybe it would have taken me a longer time. To be fair, maybe it would have taken me a longer time to get to that point. Maybe I wouldn't have wanted to do Fashion Week at all. I would have said, put it off to another year. I'm not ready for that. Cause I've never done, and it just got so comfortable after a while. Like, I see somebody, let me just ask them. I don't know who they are now. I'm just asking them. I did that with somebody I don't even know, like 3 days ago. I don't know who they are, but it was a nice photo, and I just took it. I'm like, can I take a photo of you? They spoke English. I don't know why I automatically just speak English. I have to stop that. I have to speak French. I don't know why I just automatically went to English. Maybe it was my friend. I blame her. But yeah,
you weren't like this before. You don't think you were like this before? You don't think you were like this before?
Where just automatically speak English?
No. capable of going up to a stranger and sort of being engaging and persuasive and kind of doing
I don't like in Taiwan days. I'm thinking I never went up to a string. No, even the people I've met. That's an interesting thing because the people I've met. I didn't go. Did I go to them?
Because I kind of find that is how you are. That's you.
I go to people.
Like, hey,
you came to me. I didn't go to you. You came to me.
To go to the office. You were sitting right at the door that was open. Okay, I had to report to you. Okay, and you decided to bully me and boss me around and deny me of water and the basic necessities of life.
Anyway.
Okay. Anyway, so but yeah, you are kind of like I don't find you to be shy or like
I am like if I don't know the person, I'm gonna go into quiet mode. I'm gonna go into quiet observant mode, and then when I'm ready, I show them me because I didn't do that first like in the company I'm in now. I think the company understands how wild I am now. Before, I think it's comfortable now because did I tell you about the Krispy Kreme
sure we all know and love.
Did I tell you about the Krispy Kreme story with the donut?
I can't. Maybe not. But why do I feel like this is something obscene?
No, it's not obscene.
Very weird.
It's just my because Krispy Kreme just opened up in France. They'd never had a branch here before. So my coworker, I think I told you this. He brought he brought donuts. So he was texting, like not texting me, but he was messaging me on the computer, and we're in different rooms. So when I saw Krispy Kreme, I think I yelled out Krispy Kreme, like yelled it out in the office. I'm sure people heard me. I ran down the hallway, like ran. I think my manager probably saw me. He's like, what is she doing? And then when I went to see the colleague now, he's like, was that you yelling Krispy Kreme? I'm like, yeah, give me the donut. Just give me my donut. I'm like, yeah.
So this is exactly why you have the nickname Kenny Penny. This is exactly why. Because that image of you squawking up and then flying down as if the sky is falling, you know, just because somebody have Krispy Kreme is exactly the Kenny Penny. That is it.
Coach likes the energy, but someone have to be careful because daddy doesn't like when it's too much energy and we have guests. Because I was getting too hyped up, and we had guests over, and I was just like me and Coach just running in the hallway, and we had guests.
You see, this is why you end up getting knocked over by Guinness because of all that energy. When you meet a high energy dog like Guinness,
we're not going into this conversation though.
You lose your balance.
Had a bad habit, and I think
you lose your balance and blame it on my dog. You know, you fail to stay on your 2 feet. You know, with just a minor shove, just a little, you know, a little friendly shove. And
he was excited for the cow.
Sweep your legs. And then blame it on Guinness.
I hope he stops that habit.
Does Groucho jump on people?
When he gets really when he wants attention and when he gets excited. So when he wants attention, he'll do the nudging and he's like ball and he'll be like jumping on you for the ball. Which everybody caves in, but no, I'm the tough one. I'm like, no, Groucho, I have to work. And he watches me with his dark face. I'm like, no.
This is why you get knocked over. This is why. No,
you need to be stern. You need to be stern.
Kenny, I can't wait for you to get a dog.
I don't know if I'm ready for that. You want another Chiquita? Nobody could beat Chiquita.
Well, you're not. No, you're gonna get a big dog. You're gonna get a lab or
a smiling dog.
A labradoodle.
He is a labradoodle. Is he a labradoodle? I think Roach is a lab. I don't know how big he'll get. That's what I'm questioning that.
You can get a golden doodle.
Golden doodle. They get
Those
big.
Are beautiful. That was the one that I saw that I had in the airport in St. Martin that I sent you a picture.
That
was so sweet. A golden doodle. So beautiful. Like a golden.
And he was on the plane with you?
I didn't see him on the plane with me, but I didn't see any dogs on the plane with me, strangely enough. So I'm like, where are all, like, there's so many dogs in the airport. I'm like, where are all these dogs? You know where also is a really dog friendly? Oh, I was telling you, DR. That's a very dog friendly place. I was very surprised because it's a Caribbean country, and you typically think of like Caribbean society as not dog friendly, but I was so surprised that there were so many people walking their dogs on the street regularly, like among a lot of people, and dogs are in the parks with people, and they're well trained, and they'll come up and play with you, and a lot of people walk their dogs off leash, like I was surprised.
It's not like the area you're in, like you were in the Frigate Bay area of the island.
Maybe I was kind of in a touristy area a little bit, Zona Colonial, which I think is very, and it's in Santo Domingo, and it's in the capital. I'm probably in a touristy area. So I wonder if it's like that rurally too. I wonder if it's like that. But you know, it's funny because I also follow a lot of people on Instagram from like the DR and stuff, and people who live like in rural in different parts and stuff. And I do see them with dogs a lot. I see a lot of dogs in their culture. Like you just kind of see it more so than you would see locally, like here.
Okay.
So I thought it was really cool. Yeah. I think dogs are amazing. I think everyone should have a dog, and no one should have cats.
I'm not a cat person, but I'm trying to give it respect. I feel like all animals need respect. You know, I'm never gonna get a cat, but I feel like I'm trying to give respect to that animal. I'm trying.
I would keep a cat for rat purposes, you know, to keep away mice.
Bring here. I gave you a gift, a rat.
I know that I don't know if I'm into that whole. And then you know the dogs would throw a fit with the cats, and I don't want any dogs that are amenable to cats. I know that sounds really weird, but like. I just to me it's weird. Like I don't know.
A cat and dog living.
I don't like it. I remember someone asked me that before. If I had a partner but they had a cat. If I met somebody and they had a cat, what would I do? I think you asked me that once.
What would happen if he's German and he has a cat?
I mean, I've never met a German with a cat before, and I think that would just be completely culturally. Not fitting, but no, I mean, I don't know. No, I don't know. To me, I think that's kind of like, boy, I don't know, because my thing is your cat. If you have a cat that is as close to you as Guinness is to me in terms of like as a relationship. Just the mere fact that it's possible for Guinness to rip that cat apart, even if we were to train them, and even if I were to, you know, Guinness is high exuberance, and Guinness likes to chase small things, but I could probably teach him over time not to harm a cat. But I can't vouch for when we leave them home by themselves and when I'm not looking and thing. I don't know. I'm like,
what makes you wait? You're assuming Guinness could. I mean, what would happen if the cat is trying to like create boundaries? Don't come near me. Smack. I don't know. I watch enough cat videos.
Exactly. And then what would that do? What if that triggers the animal nature in Guinness, and he's just like smack who and you know, and it's just the end. That's like the last smack of the cat.
He's not. That's not. He's not. He's not a fighter. He's a lover. He's not gonna do that.
He is, but Guineas will chase things. Guineas likes to chase, right? And when you chase something, it puts it in danger, because if Guinness, first of all, I don't want Guinness chasing things like I don't like that. I mean, it's nice to watch sometimes, but I kind of don't like Guinness chasing things, because chasing is dangerous, because especially when you live in a built environment, you chase something, you chase up into the road, and then bam, or whatever, you know. It's just not good. It's you'd rather that they don't do that, right? Even though it's part of the instinct and blah 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 da, 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 whatever. So it's biting things and all sorts of things. But to live in a human environment, they have to kind of give up certain things, and I think chasing is one of those. So I just don't want to be responsible for. I think it's irresponsible to have a dog and a cat in the same environment, just given the proclivity of the dog, and also given the capability of the dog as well. I just think it's like you know the tale of the scorpion and the frog. You've heard of that tale? It's a simple story of like a a scorpion is by a river wanting to cross the river once, and a frog, and he asks a frog, he says, "Hey, Mr. Frog, can you give me a lift across the river?" You've heard this, right? And then the frog says, "No, you're gonna sting me." And he says, "No, why would I sting you? I'm trying to get across the river. If I sting you, both of us are gonna drown." So all right. And the frog says, "All right, cool, come true." And they go halfway across the river. The scorpion stings the frog. And as they're both drowning, the frog says, "Why did you sting me? No, both of us are gonna drown." And the scorpion says, "Because I'm a scorpion." It's like it's such a stupid story, but it's also so profound, because it's like,
okay.
I mean, but it comes back full circle, because it goes back to what we were talking about originally, which is like the nature of a thing. You know, do we deny the nature of a thing? It is human nature to be curious to our detriment.
Did you seriously did a wrap up? Do you seriously just connect the beginning with the end?
That's so full. Come on.
Wow.
I'm a little bit impressed with how I did that, actually, I have to admit.
You're looking at me like she's gonna bite. Wait.
That's really good. I think I did a lawyer's job right there. I think the jury is gonna come back unanimous. My gosh.
It's perfect timing, because I have 4 minutes before 10 p.m.
Is it?
Yes.
Oh, I forget you guys have time over there as well, right? Oh yeah.
Like most places, yeah.
I mean, yeah, whatever. Nobody tell y'all to have a different time zone than the real world.
Yeah, but isn't time zones, we don't have time for this, but isn't time zones like a business mechanism set up in the first place?
I've heard that. I don't know, maybe. No, isn't it daylight savings? Is the whole business thing to make people work longer hours or something like that? But maybe time zone too. I don't know. No, but time zone is like a physical thing, isn't it?
I don't know. Somebody said like time zones is like because you needed to know when XYZ was working in such and such countries so that you're able to continue trade with them or something like that.
Oh yeah, okay. Well, yeah, I guess so. I guess that makes sense. But not the existence of actual time zones, because that would be based on where the sun, where the Earth
yeah. But that's
but the whole idea of
like for example, how do we know like if it's too stark of a difference for you and me, but if or maybe even so like what would happen? Who just said 2 o'clock in the morning is 2 o'clock in the morning when it's like 7 p.m. for you? Who's to say it's 2 o'clock in the morning for me here? It could have been 11. I don't know, something like that. Like, how do we know 11 p.m. is 11 p.m.? We don't know. Oh, it's night.
Kenny, I don't have time for this. I don't have the brain power for this.
Okay,
I don't have
that's
the.
next one. That's the next one. That's the next one.
That's literally that reminds me of have you ever read Alice in Wonderland? And
I want to read it.
What's the riddle? Why is a raven like a writing desk? And it's like, I don't fucking know. What? Why is a raven like a writing desk? I need to read that though.
Like read the original book. I wanna. I mean, you know the story behind Alice in Wonderland, though, right?
What's the story behind it?
The author.
What?
That the
Lewis Carroll.
The little girl.
No, maybe I've heard something weird, but I don't know. I can't.
It's alleged. We don't know for sure. Cause the author is a grown man, or grown man to their standards. Could be like 18, but he's still considered like a man. And he had inspiration with a lady that he was infatuated with, but the little girl of the lady. So he was supposed to be going out with, I don't know if it's her sister. I'm not too sure, but I don't know what was going on with that issues. But he liked the little girl because the little girl embodied some sort of image that he had, and then Alice in Wonderland was created out of that. But nobody could really say, like, he took pictures of the little girl and everything because they had camera back then. So there's like pictures where you're like, why would you take a picture of a little girl like that particularly?
But provocative pictures.
Like, yeah, because she would be like, it's not even like she's like hi cutesy. It's like standing in a way, looking to the camera, half naked kind of thing.
Okay, like seductive kind of.
Yeah, in a way.
But is it
she's like tomboyish kind of feel?
Interesting. So was it like an actual inappropriate relationship that happened, or did he have some kind of like a Peter Pan, Michael Jackson kind of a weird thing?
It depends who you hear the story from. Because we're wondering if from the girl he had a relationship with, if they went sour, did she make it into a pedophile situation when actually it wasn't?
I see.
So I don't know. From his side of the story, it's like, no, she's my inspiration. So that's the thing. Who do you like? I don't know. Is it morally right to have your inspiration in a little girl like that? Is that appropriate? I don't know.
I mean,
I think the mother of the child was fine with it. I think. Somebody was okay with it.
Because when was this written? Was this not still at the time when people used to betroth children at 12 and 13 years old?
Well, I know it's the late 80s. I mean, the late 1800s, but I don't know if they were marrying. I mean, the age gap is too big between the little girl and the guy. And he was dating the girl, like dating to the fact, back then dating means that you should be moving on to marriage. Because dating is not that loose. But he never married her. So that's the question. Like, what happened?
Oh, no, the film. When was the book? No, I'm trying to find out when the book was written. This is curious now to me. 18-something.
Where'd you see?
1865.
Here it is.
Wow, that's much older than I thought.
That's the original book. And it's based off the little girl.
These were almost different people. I mean, in terms of their society and their culture, completely different to us. 1865. 1865 is 30 years after slavery was abolished.
Nice segue.
Oh, it's true. That's 1865. Okay. That's not even. Wow. That's before the Berlin Conference. That's long before the Berlin Conference. This is early. This is the mid 1800s. This is wild. Okay, interesting. And the story has taken on. I mean, that's funny. I'm curious about this now, about who this person was, Lewis Carroll, and what his particular.
There's a documentary in it because I watched it. That's how I know about this. So you could find it online. There's the inspiration he got from the little girl. The suggested inappropriate pictures he had with her, of her, sorry, not with her, of her, who's really telling the right stories. The lady who didn't get married to the guy, did she fabricate it? And is it appropriate to have that kind of friendship even? I don't know.
Didn't a lot of these artists, didn't like Picasso have like a little girl as well? Or
no, he just had a whole lot of women. He just had a whole bunch of inappropriate stuff.
I sure one of them had like a little girl. Picasso, 15. He has like a 15-year-old girl or something like that.
Oh, it's possible. But what you mean during his womanizing days? It's possible because he did use his fame to kind of make some.
One of them was in love. One of them was madly in love with like a 15-year-old girl or like a little girl, a young girl, and all kind of stuff. Anyway, yeah, it's that's why I asked if it was like a Pete, like if it was like a Michael Jackson thing, because it's weird when like incredibly artistic people almost like blur the lines of what is moral, and you kind of wonder, is this the time? Is this a function of their mind? Is this what's why all of them are so weird? Well, not weird. I mean, is it weird? Like just like you're asking question, is it appropriate to have a? I don't know. There's so many questions.
I don't know.
Wildness. Yeah.
For that time, 1860 something. I don't know. I am not too sure.
Can you imagine going back into that time, boy? I don't know. Anyway.
And I think he took care of the little girl too, so maybe the mother was fine with it because her little girl was getting taken care of. So,
I mean, conditions of the time and what people, like even in modern day, people like, I didn't realize until like last year how prevalent slavery still is. Like people are still like, I used to hear people say like, oh yeah, modern day slavery, people are still selling people. And I just thought, okay, you kind of mean like some human trafficking and some type of Hollywood stuff that you're seeing and thing. I didn't realize that there is like an entire trade industry, full on proper functioning, like a cultural, in some like North Koreans will sell their children into slavery because they can't feed them and they think that it's like a better life to do that because at least somebody's going to be taking care of you, and it's like a whole thing that's, I'm just like, shit, you mean like back in the ancient times? That's what you're talking about? That shit is still happening? That's what I mean. Like, it's so fascinating that human beings can be so advanced and still so primitive at the same time. Live so primitively at the same time. We can hold both things in ourselves, both completely opposite things in ourselves at the same time. Anyway, so that's that, I guess. I guess it's even closer to 10 o'clock. So it's 10 o'clock is where you are. So can we please get the time right? What time?
It's 10:05 at the moment. It's exactly 10:05 p.m.
You did some weird time thing with my calendar.
I didn't do anything.
And you managed to set the wrong time on my own calendar.
I don't know how that's possible.
All the way in France, you could manage to mess up my calendar from here.
It's okay to get it wrong, Cleon. It's okay. Maybe you thought you saw 1 o'clock, and it's fine.
It's very obvious to me that you think it's okay to get it wrong, which is why you got the time wrong, Kenny. That's very clear. That's what you did.
I got the time wrong. Okay. So I was 45 minutes early than needed. Okay, cool. All right, cool. Okay, Cleon.
I don't know how your mind works. I don't know why you do the things that you do, Kenny. I can't logic in the way that you do. But nevertheless, it was a great convo. I didn't think that we'd go so philosophical, but it was quite nice. I don't know who's gonna listen to any of this stuff, but it's kind of nice to just kind of document this kind of stuff, I guess. Maybe one day people will listen.
When they made the pyramids, they weren't too sure. So, maybe they did. Maybe they figured somebody will see it.
So we're gonna have to wait thousands of years for anybody to appreciate what we're doing. Maybe.
We're gonna be in textbooks. You remember?
As a little footnote, a little citation. That's really my goal in life. That's my ambition. So yes, Kenny. All right. Take care. Don't let the bed bugs bite, or however you say that in French. Non les le bed bugs biton.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Stick with the Spanish. Stick with the Spanish and the somewhat.
I'm not trying. Actually, I don't even know how to say what I just said in Spanish. So, yes, Kenny. All right.
Right.
Au revoir. À bientôt.
À bientôt.
All right. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.